The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Any rebroadcast, reproduction, or other use of this broadcast or podcast without the express written consent of Spaced Out Radio or Spaced Out Radio Limited is strictly prohibited. Listener discretion is advised.
Bumblefoot. Bumblefoot.
Are you experienced?
Stop right there!
From high atop the mountains of British Columbia to you listening around the world, this is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott.
They let us play with all our toys. They let us think that we're big boys. They let us make the louder noise, but we ain't rule the world. They let us think we're Superman.
You can follow us on our website, spacedoutradio.com, on iTunes and TuneIn. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, on Facebook at Spaced Out Radio Show, or on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show.
I try to act so cool, but you know I'm just a fool for you. I will stop till I reach the top just to be there with you.
Dave, oh Dave. Are you playing with Bigfoot and aliens again?
Dad, you gotta stop haunting the ghost. It's scaring them.
All right, seriously, put down the pointy sticks.
Oh, the deeper I fall.
Okay! Game on! Game on!
The password is...
All right.
Buckle up, space travelers. It's time to go for a ride on Spaced Out Radio. Mr. Bumblefoot, Dave is ready for liftoff.
I try to act so cool, but you know I'm just a fool for you.
Seriously, Dave? Really? Aren't you a little old for a tinfoil hat?
Hello, Toby. Bye-bye. Love you. Bye-bye.
Please take your seat above all. There will be entrance. Prepare for takeoff. Start. 2, 1. Boost ignition and lift off.
I'm such a lucky guy, 'cause after all this time, it's like the deeper I go, the deeper I fall. The deeper I go, the deeper I fall. Yeah, the deeper I go, the
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, and it's great to have you along for the ride on this Friday, November 10th, Saturday, November 11th, Remembrance Day in Canada, Veterans Day in the United States. Make sure you thank a veteran for your freedom. If you're on the East Coast or across the pond, hope you had a great day and night. We are live right here in the Great White North, on top of the snowy mountains of central British Columbia, as we are here 7 days a week. We welcome in everyone listening in on WQEE 99 Rock the Key down in Noonan, Georgia, home of The Walking Dead. We are live as well on the United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in New Orleans and over 160 countries around the world. We are also live at spacedoutradio.com, Spreaker, KTLK, The Fringe FM, Renegade Talk Radio out of Las Vegas, the High Plains Talk Radio Network, and if you're listening in on Revolution Radio, remember the Double R Machine is a donation station financed by you, the valued listeners. Head on over to freedomslips.com and donate today. Like our music, get your horns up for Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL, formerly of Guns N' Roses, currently of Art of Anarchy and Sons of Apollo. Bumblefoot is the official sound of SOR. Now, we're all over social media, so you can follow us on Twitter, at Spaced Out Radio. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. On Instagram, you can follow me at Dave Scott SOR. Subscribe to our brand new YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio. It's no longer Spaced Out Radio Show, Spaced Out Radio. We need you to click on that. We're also on iHeartRadio in the United States, TalkStream Live. Tune us in on TuneIn and download and subscribe to our shows on iTunes. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. Now, if you want to take part in this show, you got to do me a favor. You got to sign into one of the chat rooms, either on Revolution Radio, Spreaker, the Facebook chat room, the SOR Space Travelers Club, or if you're on Twitter, just go to hashtag Spaced Out Radio. I'll get your questions and comments in there as well. Now, if you head on over and you're perusing our website, make sure you become a member of the SOR Space Travelers Club for as low as $5 a month. You could shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. You'd look good in one of our t-shirts. You could read The Encounter online by our editor, Everett Thiemer, who puts it all together. Check out my latest blog, and if you've had an experience you can't explain, fill out an SOR Sightlines report. We also got great video footage from UFO seekers, Contact TV, and so much more. In the mid-2000s, Paranormal Television took the popularity of ghost hunting through the roof almost instantaneously. Ratings most television shows could only dream of. It started with Paranormal State on A&E, followed by Ghost Hunters, then an assortment of shows. The ratings were through the roof because, for the most part, most of the viewing audience had never even heard of or knew there were paranormal teams out there researching the dead. Jack Kenna is one of those ghost hunters who's worked in front of the camera for shows like Paranormal Lockdown. Jack runs Spirits of New England. He's also a part of San Diego Ghost Hunters and the Extreme Paranormal Encounter Response Team. His knowledge of the field with personal and television investigations is second to none. So tonight, for the first 2 hours, we're going to talk and learn with Jack about what it's like with paranormal television. Is it real? Is it staged? Is it an education tool for those with less experience? In hour number 3, I want to formally introduce you to Joe Roop, who as of December will be the new Saturday host, as Dave Cruz has had to step on down. He needs some more time with his family, but I'm sure you'll still hear Dave on around here somewhere. So we're going to learn about Joe in hour number 3. But first, we have Jack Kenna, paranormal investigator extraordinaire. Jack, I got to say, it's been a long time since we talked. You and I met face-to-face earlier this year at the Provincetown Paracon in Provincetown, Massachusetts. And I got to tell you, my friend, what a pleasure. Talking with you immediately felt like I was talking with an old friend.
Oh, thanks, Dave. Thanks. I felt the same way. Yeah, and it has been a long time. We've chatted a little online and stuff like that, but we haven't really talked since, I think that was back in April, right? Yeah.
May.
May. Yeah. We couldn't. I had so much stuff I've been doing, I couldn't remember, but I knew it was a long time ago. So that's good. Yeah, and I felt the same way. We kind of just kind of hit it off. And, you're easy to talk to, and we had a good conversation. I do have to correct one thing you said, though. You mentioned that it was behind the camera on Paranormal Lockdown. It's actually Paranormal Survivor.
I apologize.
I just wanted to make sure. I don't want to take claim for a show I haven't been on yet. So,
well, let's get you on that damn show then.
I wouldn't mind being on there with Nick. That'd be Nick Ruff. I like Nick. He's a decent guy and stuff. I'd love to be on his show sometime if he ever invites me. That's it.
Well, you know what? I'm sure with your talent, that phone call is probably quite quickly coming, because you're one of those guys, man, where you do it the right way. You work hard. You look to understand. What got you into this field? If we look back in the history of young Jack Kenna, what led you down this path?
I never really thought much about the paranormal, but I was always very interested in it. As a kid, I had my own, I guess you would say, paranormal experiences, although at 5, 6, 7 years old, I really didn't think of it that way at that time. I'm still in the house I grew up in, and there was times I would hear my name being called by what sounded like my mother, and I'd go and look for her and ask her, and she'd go, "I didn't call you," but it would sound like her voice. Still even happens to this day. And through a good psychic friend of mine, who became a friend over the years, who I met on totally by accident one time. Becca Boyd is her name, out of New Hampshire. She's able to tell me, and I believe her, based on a reading I had done with her, that it's my grandmother on my mother's side that still reaches out to me and kind of keeps track of me, I think. So, which is not a bad thing. So I had experiences all my life. My mother had a lot of paranormal experiences. We didn't call them that back then, but she had a lot of spiritual experiences, I would say, and she always talked to me about them, and we'd discuss them, and we'd talk about things I've experienced as years went on. And then I found myself just kind of getting interested in all that. I used to watch all the In Search of shows, all the old shows years and years ago that even dealt a little bit with that. And of course, I was always a big horror film fan and all that too. So I really kind of got away from it, I guess, after a while. And then, I'll be honest, it was when that Ghost Hunters show came on, it kind of rekindled my interest in it. And I got online to a paranormal forum, and I met my friends from Spirits New England, who's now my team. This is the team I'm on. And we just started investigating and doing stuff from there, and go to different events and learning from different people. And that's how I got into it. That's we are where we are at now because of that. So,
Jack, is the rush still there for you after all these years investigating? Or, I mean, you're somebody who has seen this field change so immensely over the years. Do you still enjoy what you do?
Yeah. I wouldn't call it much of a rush, really. I mean, I don't get into doing investigations looking for a rush out of it or anything. We look into it to try to help people, to try to help solve, is it paranormal, isn't it paranormal, do all that. But I do have a passion for it. I would call it a passion, not just a rush. Passion's a lot different thing, right? If you're passionate about something, you enjoy it, you enjoy what you do, even when it's the boring stuff, like reviewing evidence and I shouldn't say evidence, reviewing data is very boring because it's not evidence until you maybe find something, right? So, I'm still passionate about it. I haven't lost my passion for it, and I found that sticking to what I enjoy doing within the paranormal is what keeps my passion going.
You're one of those guys who's been able to really stay out of the drama, stay out of, harm's way. I mean, we see people all the time getting ripped on social media in the paranormal field. We see so many headaches that are going on. We hear about these nightmare stories of museums and cemeteries being shut down to the paranormal because people are going in there now with an almost anarchic rage to get their evidence, if we can call it that.
Yeah.
Does that bother you in the way that it is bothering a lot of longtime investigators, that this new crowd of investigators really doesn't seem to have that respect?
Well, I think it bothers all of us. People have been in it for a long time. We're trying to do it for a specific reason. I think but you have to look at it from the perspective of there's a lot of people who try to get into the paranormal for their own reasons, which is maybe to try to become famous, get on TV, whatever. But there's also people who do it out of just watching what they see on TV, and they're just trying to get like a thrill out of it, or they want to learn, but they don't know what they're doing and they don't know where to go, so they do things they shouldn't be doing. So part of what I try to do when I do lectures and stuff like that is to address that and talk to people about that and try to educate them on what the paranormal is really about, and try to point them in the right direction. Do I get angry about it? I guess I do, but I also try to do something to fix it, if you know what I'm saying.
I know exactly what you're saying, and last week I actually wrote a blog in regards to what I do on every week on the Spaced Out Radio website, and I wrote it about whether or not it is time for a paranormal code of conduct or some sort of governing body. Now, I got a lot of people saying, we would love to see it. Majority of them said, we'd love to see it, but it would never happen. We don't think it'll ever happen. But there was a lot of angst towards it as well from many in the community, basically saying, you know what, we have too many laws, we have too many rules. You know, if people can't use common sense, then to hell with them, kind of thing. And it really seems to, when you bring up the idea of making or creating a paranormal dialogue or code of conduct or whatever you want to call it, it really seems to ruffle a lot of feathers, either for the good or for the bad. What do you think? Is this field ready to do what MUFON has done with UFOs?
I don't really think it is quite ready yet, but I think it's you're starting to see it within groups themselves, okay? And which I think it's no different than what you saw when engineering first started, or when different scientific, organizations first started. Everybody was doing their own thing. Everybody's, going their own way. That's why they wanted to keep it, and everybody was against organizing and all that. But if you're going to become a serious, if you want to call it a science or whatever, at some point you have to begin to organize, and you have to begin to set rules and guidelines and things like that. Everybody's always against rules and regulations, right? We all are, we're human. We don't regulate me, please don't do that. But I think within teams, you're starting to see it, like teams have guidelines that you need to follow if you're going to be a member of the team. And if you break those guidelines, you're no longer on the team. You see it happen enough times. Are they ready for a formal, across the board, this is the way everybody has to act, and this is the way everybody has to perform in order to do this? No, I don't think you're quite there yet. I think it's slowly coming to that. But it's just something it's a growing process, okay, and the paranormal field is still growing, and those who kind of go out and do it for fun or whatever, they kind of fall by the wayside fairly quickly. But I think if you really looked at the teams that have been out there for a long time and are pretty stable, and they're still around, I think if you looked at all of us, we follow very similar guidelines already.
There are so many different rules and regulations that people have because it also constitutes your own beliefs. A lot of people don't like using psychics. A lot of people don't like using a lot of technical gear. A lot of people, aren't there to solve whether or not there's life after death. They're just there to solve whether or not a building or a facility is haunted.
Right.
And when you look at all of these different avenues that people have in the ghost hunting community,
right,
it really is a head scratcher on how anybody would be able to bring all of this together under one roof, much like MUFON has done in the UFO field.
Right, and I think that's part of the problem. I think that's the one reason the paranormal field isn't ready for that. It's pretty diverse. It's pretty, there's a lot of different reasons that groups are out there. Some groups are out there just to try to either prove or disprove, the existence of hauntings, or try to help individuals who are experiencing hauntings. Not all groups do that, because that's not for everybody either. But I think if you looked at all the teams across the board, there is kind of a code of ethics, that's an unwritten code of ethics that exists between the what I would call the solid paranormal teams out there that we all do follow, and I think that's where the beginning of all this organization can start, is just with that. Now, you may break off. There's different. If you look at the existing sciences and engineerings, there's different types of engineerings. There's different types of sciences, and they all have different kind of regulations they follow. But there is an overall thing called the scientific method that they all go by to try to organize their research and the different things they're doing. And that's kind of a standard that they all follow to try to prove or disprove theories and things like that. So I think that's eventually where you'll see the paranormal field really end up, if groups that have been out there for a long time keep going, and you keep building more better teams. And it's down the road. We may not see it in our lifetime, but I think if people are really still interested in this, you're going to see it happen.
Do you think the word science is thrown around a little too loosely in the paranormal field?
Yeah, I do right now. I really think it is, because we are a little bit of everything. I mean, a little bit of both. We're a little bit of using electronic devices and things to try to identify paranormal activity. And then there's the other spiritual side, which you really can't get rid of in the paranormal. And maybe that's the conundrum, right? The paranormal is a spiritual realm when you're talking about ghosts and hauntings and all that. So you can't discount, I don't think, personally, things like psychics or mediums, who are true psychic and mediums. I mean, there's a lot of people out there who claim to be that aren't, but or they at least believe they are, and maybe they're not. But there is that big spiritual part of it. I mean, that's what it's about, and then there's the other side that just wants to use science to prove or disprove it, and I'm not sure you can just with science, just with electronic devices and items. We call that science because science is what we need to create those devices. But I don't know if I just answered your question or not. You tell me. Sometimes I get a little bit off track.
Well, I find a lot of people that I have talked to in this field, they say they are conducting scientific investigation on whether or not the paranormal phenomenon is real or not. But when you ask them, are you conducting scientific studies using scientific methods, they look at you like you got egg on your face.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. And even though I don't, with our team, we're out to just try to help individuals determine what's really going on, that they think they're experiencing a haunting. But even when I do that, okay, I mean, part of the scientific method, working in engineering and working with scientists and engineers and all that, what you do is you collect data, right? You collect a bunch of data, right? You have to now review that data and see what you find in there that could be something of interest or not. Okay, and you've got to make that determination. There's certain guidelines you have to follow in order to make those determinations. And even in the real hard sciences, you're using software, you're using this, you're using that. But the point is, you go in and you do things a certain way, and you use multiple devices, try to see if you get consistent responses. Okay, with your data. And that's the closest you're going to get in the paranormal field to trying to figure out, are you getting potentially real paranormal activity or not? You have to look at not just, I got one EVP. All right. I don't know what that means. All right. Was something else going on at the same time? Did you capture something in video? Did you have a personal experience? Did something else? Did you capture multiple EVPs and you're sure it's not your people? And it takes a lot of data and a lot of review and stuff to do that. So from a scientific perspective, that's what you need to do. Now, you're never going to recreate it, as they say. Well, science says you have to recreate it and blah, 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 blah. You can't always do that. Yes and no. I mean, sometimes even in science, you can't completely replicate data, okay, or evidence, but you can get very similar data, okay, that says, okay, I've got enough data here and enough data points and enough consistency to say this is accurate, okay. So, if you're not doing at least that, then it's not really science.
Well, I think that is probably a couple of paragraphs worth of words there that probably about 90% of all paranormal investigators need to listen to right there. So thank you so much for breaking that down. When you started investigating, and then you look forward to today with how technical ghost hunting equipment has become.
Yeah.
What's your opinion of all this technology? Do you think technology is going to prove something spiritual and supernatural?
Technology is great. I love technology. I like the different things they're coming out with. But again, it's just a tool, okay? And with any tool, and maybe this is just because, again, I come from the engineering world. With any tool, you have to determine whether the tool is worth its salt or not. Okay, whether it's any good to use or not. And that only comes with people using it and collecting data and trying it out. Will a piece of equipment ultimately prove the existence of the human soul, which is how I like to refer to it as? No, I don't think it ever will. I could be wrong. I mean, I could be totally wrong about that because I don't know what's going to come out 20, 30 years from now, right? But with the equipment we have now, no, you're not going to 100% prove to anybody that ghosts, spirits, the human soul exists. All right, it's just not going to happen. Not that I can see.
Where do you see the ghost hunting phenomenon going in the next few years? Do you think we've already peaked, or do you think that there is still a lot more to come and a lot more people that are going to embrace this? Because there's the attitude out there, Jack, that many people, as they leave the church to find and investigate their own spirituality, that it's leading more and more people down this paranormal path.
Yeah. Repeat your question for me, because I want to make sure I give it the right answer.
Well, where do you think where do you think the paranormal field is going?
Field is at? All right, where do I think it's at? Where do I think it's going? Do I think it's peaked? When you say I think it's peaked, you're talking to the paranormal field as a whole, or just what TV stuff?
Well, before we get into TV, let's just say the paranormal as a whole.
Well, then no, I would say no, it hasn't peaked. I don't think, and I think because of this, what you just said. People are they're much more well educated now than they ever used to be. People, they have their own minds. They want to look into their own things and find out their own spirituality for themselves. So in that case, yes, I see a lot of people looking into the paranormal more than they ever have. And one of the things I do, even with when I'm working with private individuals who think they have a haunting going on, or just even in my lectures and stuff, I talk about finding your faith, finding something that you can ground yourself to. And I'm Roman Catholic, but I'm not talking to people about becoming Roman Catholic. I'm talking to people about find something you can believe in. Find something to ground yourself with, because if you really want to get into paranormal investigating, because it is a spiritual type realm, I think you have to be grounded in something in order to protect yourself spiritually. Okay. So I tell people, find something. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's a rock. If you believe that rock can protect you, good. Believe in it. Have faith in it. Whatever. But that's an extreme, obviously, thing there. But my point to people is find something you connect with spiritually, and follow that. Whether it be Wicca or witchcraft, and witchcraft is not always bad, by the way, or whether it be Islam. I don't care what it is, whether Catholic, Judaism. It doesn't matter. As long as it works for you and you find comfort in it and you find a way in it that protects you spiritually or that you can connect with, find that faith. And I think that's what people are looking for. Where do they fit in? What fits for them? What works for them? So I think that part of it is growing, and I don't think it's peaked at all yet. No.
I don't usually like asking this question, but I'm curious about what you use. It's such a question, in regards to paranormal equipment that you use. A lot of people use it for a shop and compare, and trust me, I've heard the conversations, and this is why I usually avoid this question, Jack, because you use that. Oh, I've never used that. That thing doesn't work. You know what I'm talking about. You're
talking about equipment now.
Yes, absolutely. So on equipment, what do you use in the field? What is your trusty gear?
There's a few things. I mean, I kind of stick to mostly the basics. Digital recorder, okay. It's a big thing. I mean, that's number one because most of your evidence probably will be audio. The infrared mini DV cameras or the DVR systems, we use those. There is one application I like to use, and people put it down, but I've been using this thing for, going on 6-7 years now. And I collected, again, I go from the engineering period. Before I ever started even presenting things as potential evidence out of it, I used this thing for about 4 years, just investigating and looking at it, and looking at the data that came through it and words that came through it, and comparing it with EVPs we may have captured or different things that were going on. But there is applications out there you can download and use, and they actually can give you data or evidence combined with other evidence. That's the Ghost Radar app. Now, that's one I've used. I've seen others used more recently by other people. And, people look at it and I've gotten some nasty emails and different messages about it. And I'm, look, they say, well, look, it even says right on it, entertainment purposes only. And one thing I do point out, I said, well, have you gone to the website for the Ovilus? Do you use an Ovilus? And they're like, well, yeah. Go to the website, read what it says. There's a disclaimer on there, entertainment purposes only, because nobody can tell you that any of this stuff can work to talk to spirits with, right? We can't even yet prove the existence of spirits, right? So my point is, a tool is a tool. You use it, and the way I use any of these devices is I explain to any potential spirit that might be there how they can use it to communicate with, how they can talk to us through it. I actually spend some time talking to them like I would talk to a person about how to use it, and then put it down, and we start seeing if something happens. And you got to use it the right way. And I actually have talked to the guy who designed the Ghost Radar app, and it's basically a program of an algorithm. And he's explained it to me, and it works very, I guess, similar to an Ovilus or any of these other devices. But we know spirit, if you're in this field long enough and you believe in it, spirit can communicate through electronics. And I think under the right circumstances, if there is something there, you can get real data come through it and real potential evidence come through it. I've seen it. I've had it happen, and I've had words and different things come through these devices and had consistent answers to these devices that it tells me it's more than just coincidence. All right.
The best photo I've ever got personally was actually with one of those ghost hunting apps.
Yeah.
And it was in my old house. And be damned if I can find the picture now, because you'd be amazed. It actually, we actually called it Elmo, okay?
Elmo, huh? Okay.
Because it actually had that red of Elmo, in the shape of Elmo, standing on my stairwell. But here's the thing that really, was interesting about that photo, is you could see the red from the spirit outline glowing in behind my banister. Now, normally if you use a ghost hunting app, it's going to project it in front of it.
Yeah, anything would, unless it's designed to do a certain thing, unless you really Photoshop something or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're seeing it behind it, and it's being blocked by
by the banister.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that is interesting.
Be darned if I could find it again. I gotta go through about 1,200 photos on my computer to try and find it. But
I hear that. Yeah.
But we had a couple months ago, we had an incredible photo from our ghost hunting tour that we do at the local museum. And if you're in the local area, the next one will be the last one of the year on November 18th, a week from tomorrow. But one of the things that we took a lot of is we took a lot of heat from not many, but a few people saying that we staged the photo, that we put a cardboard cutout. What do you do? What do you do, Jack, with these armchair computer debunkers who don't know the scenario? They refuse to acknowledge any personal experiences there. They're just there to debunk.
I don't do anything with them because what are you going to do with them? I mean, they don't believe it. They don't believe it, So I know there's some out there out to just prove us all as hoaxsters, and that's not true. But what are you going to do with them? I kind of tell them, well, look, I can't make you believe something or not. That's okay. You don't believe it. That's fair. I get it. It's fair. You think I did this. I can only tell you I didn't. I can only tell you what you see is what I captured. I don't know what else to tell you. That usually they don't know what to, because you're not arguing with them. I find the less I argue with skeptics, the more likely you are to at least gain some respect from them and go, oh, okay. Because they're looking, some are looking for a fight. Some you never get respect from. But others will say, oh, okay, well, I didn't expect that response. I said, well, what do you want me to say? You believe it's not something? I know it is because I was there. I don't know how to explain this, and you're never going to convince somebody who wasn't there, who didn't see it, or wasn't there to see what was going on at the time. And I deal with photos that people send me the same way. It's like, look, I wasn't there. I can tell you this is what I think it is based on my own knowledge of photography and videography and this, and having worked with that for many years. This is what I think it is. But if it means something to you, then it means something to you. I'm not going to shoot you down. I'm only going to tell you what I know based on my own knowledge. And that's how I deal with people.
I get that, and I can respect that very much so, Jack. But I guess one of the things that I'm wondering about then is whether or not maybe that smoking gun piece of evidence is out there, but the way this field has become so fickle and obtuse that maybe the person who has that smoking gun worth of evidence, whether it's video or whatever it is, isn't releasing it because they don't want the harassment. They don't want the headache that goes along with it.
Yeah, I see where they're coming from, but I wouldn't also at the same time, I would say go ahead and post it because there's a bunch of us out there who want to see it and try to, want to know what you caught and what happened, what you may have found out. I mean, I think the pros of posting things outweigh the cons of posting evidence. I mean, again, we post evidence on our website. I put stuff out there. I never shoot down somebody else's stuff just on a whim. I'll give my insight into it and tell them that's what it is. But I wouldn't be at the same time afraid to put something out there that you really think is legitimate. I encourage people to do that. But, you can't let the naysayers keep you down, okay? And you can listen to them, and you can go, yeah, okay. Because there's some who have some legitimate – I mean, I've had people give legitimate feedback of, well, I really think it's this, and maybe you should look at this. And I will. Actually, I will take it and say, okay, maybe there's something I didn't know about that I need to look at, And then there's others who just – you can tell they're just negative people, and they're just going to rip it apart, and that's their purpose in life is to rip you apart. And that's not – it's not a reason not to post your evidence up there. But it's maybe it's more of a reason to post your evidence up there. They want to tear you apart. Let them tear you apart. What are they proving except that maybe their own ignorance?
Jack, do you believe though that maybe us as researchers in general have forgotten about the story, about the message that people have in trying to learn what's happened to them because we've become so evidence-based now?
When you say I see what you're saying about being too much evidence-based. There's always going to be, I think, people that are very evidence-based. Again, that's not what our team is really about. If you try, I would say this: have we forgotten our roots, so to speak? Is that what you're getting at, Dave?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay. I think some have. I think enough of us have been in this long enough or doing this long enough have not really forgotten our roots. I think we try to focus on our roots of where it's all come from, which is long before any of us, to be honest with you. I mean, you can go back way back in history, and people have always been interested in the dark and what's out there and the unknown. So there are people who are in it now. I would say maybe for the wrong reasons or for their own purposes, and that's not necessarily the purpose of the core of the paranormal groups that are out there. You know what I'm saying? You get what I'm...
I know exactly where you're going with that.
Okay.
But we're going to switch on over to television here because that is the reason why we have you on tonight.
Right.
I want to hit you off with something right off the bat.
Yeah.
Would you have picked up Annabelle?
No, I would not. I would not have done that, no. Knowing what I know about that particular item, and I didn't see the show, but I know what Mr. Bagans did, and I have a lot of most people will probably hate me for this, but I actually have a lot of respect for Zach. I mean, Zach is who he is. I get who he is and what he's doing, and he'll push it to the limits. But I think that was a little too far because there is something attached to that particular doll that's you don't really want to be involved with. It's behind glass for a reason. I think it needs to stay there for a reason. And no, I would not have picked it up. I would have just been happy to look at it from behind the glass. It would have been fine.
Mm-hmm. So, for what people who may not have heard, on the Halloween special of Ghost Adventures, Zach Bagans was asked not to touch the legendary Annabelle doll, and he went out and, in his brave way, did it anyways, and it's really caught the attention of many people in the paranormal who feel this was a very arrogant and dangerous move. You have studied the Annabelle doll. Tell us the history of this, if you don't mind.
Well, I mean, I haven't really studied it, but I know about the history, a little bit of the history of the doll, and that it does have a demonic entity that's connected to it. Not necessarily, I guess you would say attached to it. It's not possessed by it because demons don't possess items. But it's just waiting for somebody to come along and let the genie out of the bottle, so to speak. A lot of negative things have happened around it. So it's just not a good item to really mess with. I would say this. I think, again, I didn't see the show, but from what I've heard, he was asked not to touch it, and he went and touched it. I think that's just disrespectful of the people who had asked him not to. So I wouldn't have done it even just for that purpose. But yeah, he is who he is. He does push the limits. But there is a demonic attached to it, and it's just not safe to mess with items like that. That's you're asking for trouble.
Do you think it shows a real lack of disrespect?
Well, yeah, I did just say that. I think it was disrespectful to go ahead and do that after he was asked not to. I mean, when somebody asks you not to do something, out of respect, you don't do it, And if you just go ahead and do it anyway, that's disrespectful of the individual, the people who asked you not to do something, right? I mean, if somebody asked me, hey, don't drive over my driveway I just paved because you'll leave your tire marks in it. I'm not going to just get in my car and drive over their driveway and leave marks in it, right? So, I mean, that's disrespectful of somebody. And it can cause a lot of problems and issues. But hopefully, I mean, I wouldn't wish anything bad on Zach, but if he starts having something happen, he may have just picked up a demonic that becomes attached to him, and whose fault is that?
And I fully understand that. The reason why I wanted to start off with that, Jack, is a lot of people in this field, since the popularity of paranormal television has swept over the public and the mainstream the last decade or so, a lot, and because there is no education, true education, you can't go to university or college or even, your local CompuCollege college or something along those lines to get a paranormal degree. A lot of people are using these television shows as education courses on how to investigate. And when you see something done with, I'm going to use the term disrespect, like touching the Annabelle doll, I'm wondering if a lot of other people are going to feel, because they may idolize people like Zach Bagans, if they feel that is the way to do things, that you don't have to be afraid. See, nothing happened to Zach. You know what I'm saying?
Well, nothing yet has happened to Zach. We don't really know. Those things work on their own time frame, right? But doing things like that. You're a celebrity, you're a para-celebrity, you're on TV. People you have people who look up to you, and there's no doubt about that. I know there's people out there that look up to the paranormal people on TV. And when you do something like that, it not just says, oh, yeah, it's okay to do that. It says, look, you can be disrespectful of people because you're for your own agenda, for your own purposes, and that's just wrong. I'm sorry, that's just wrong. You don't do that. You're not sending a good signal to people. I get with the television shows. And this is the thing that we talked about before. With TV, it's about ratings. Shows, TV is about ratings and making money. That's what it's about. Okay, there's no doubt about that. It's entertainment. It's called that for a reason. If you don't have an entertaining show, you're not going to be on TV for too long. Okay, it's just the way it is. So, they do some of these things for the entertainment factor and value, but it's not sending a good signal to people who are looking to these shows, like you just said, to learn how to investigate and learn how to, I can watch these shows and become a paranormal investigator. Well, let me tell you right now, no, you can't. Because what you see on TV is not exactly how it all really works or how it even really happens. You're seeing 1/10 of what these investigations are being done. And there's hours and hours and hours, of investigation that you're cutting down to really 45 minutes once you add in commercials, right? So don't use TV shows as a way to try to educate yourself on paranormal research, because it's not the same thing.
So where do you recommend people getting their education if they have an interest in this field?
There like such as our own and others, there are groups out there that hold paranormal events. Some charge, some don't. We try to do, our own team tries to do at least one or two open investigations that people can come to for free. And we'll show them how to investigate. We show them how to use equipment. We show them what it's really used for. We talk about all that. But you can learn from real paranormal investigators. And some of those are the guys you see on TV. They do legitimate work, too, as far as investigating. So you can learn from those people, but ask questions. Even if you don't go to an event or something, you can contact some local paranormal teams. It's tough sometimes to try to find one that's been around for a while that could be reputable and talk to them about investigating. Most ones who are really serious about it will be glad to talk to you and glad to give you information and share it with you and give you their insights on real investigating and kind of help you learn what it's about. Go to one of their lectures. A lot of times lectures are free. And they're done at libraries or things like that where it's open to the public. And you can go and you can ask questions and learn. Learn that way. But don't just try to investigate based on what you see on TV. It's not the same thing, and you're only getting a tenth of the knowledge that you kind of need to really do it.
And I appreciate that. And a lot of people, would like to have that opportunity, but if they can't make it out to an event, if they can't make it out to a course, even so if it's online with Skype or something along those lines, or maybe they feel they don't need it, because, I mean, let's face it, Jack, a lot of people who look in this field, myself included, when I first started having interest in this a number of years ago, okay, I was looking at it thinking, that can't be so hard, walking around a cemetery. I'm a former journalist. I know how to ask questions. All you need is some gear, a notepad, a Bic pen, and off you go.
I hear you. I'm not talking to you because I knew all this right off the start. Hey, I learned from my own experiences too, which is why I try to pass that along to people now. Don't do it the way we did it, all right? Yeah, we made those mistakes. Don't learn from my mistakes. Do it the right way. And sometimes I'll even tell people, I'm on Facebook, I'm on, different social medias and stuff like that. Contact me there if you want to talk to me and ask me questions. And people do all the time, and they're shocked. I'm surprised they're shocked when I actually answer them. And I have 3 or 4 a day that contact me, and I'll message them back saying, what would you like to know? And they're shocked because they don't think people from TV will actually talk to them, and I will. And I answer their questions, and I give them some advice, and we don't always have time to go places, but if you really want to investigate, if you're serious about it, take the time to try to go to an event or go to a lecture, or at least message somebody on social media who is an investigator and see if you get a response. Try to get some information anyway, because if you're not willing to do that, then why are you doing it to begin with anyway, I would ask. Are you just doing it for fun, for thrills? What do you want to go out and investigate the paranormal for? Take the time to talk to somebody first.
And when we do our tour around here, we are very specific in telling the group that is attending that this is nothing like television. So if you're expecting television results, you're not going to get them, because there's not something happening every 20, 30 seconds. No. But people have that inkling that that's what it's all about. So when you're talking to, say, somebody who's like, man, you must get evidence everywhere you go, how do you casually break it down to them? You don't want to give them heartbreak if they're thinking about getting into the field, but you want them to understand that there's more monotony than there is evidence catching.
Yeah, which is where I do become brutally honest. They say that, oh, you must get stuff all the time. I laugh and I go, oh yeah, I wish, And it's like, no, it doesn't work that way. The analogy I use is it's like watching grass grow. Okay, you're investigating in a place for hours sometimes before something even happens. Sometimes nothing happens. But you go back, and all of a sudden you've got some EVPs or something you didn't even realize you were getting at the time. It can be very boring, I let them know that. I said, because if you really want to get into this and you want to be bored, that's okay, because you probably will be. It's not like you think. It's not like you see on TV. TV is condensed into 45 minutes of maybe 100 hours worth of filming. So, not that much, but that's an exaggeration, but a lot of hours of filming condensed down into 45 minutes of the best stuff they captured. So it looks great, it looks fun, it looks like, oh, stuff happens all the time. No, it doesn't. I've been to locations, absolutely nothing ever happened. And we caught nothing. And I had to go through all that too. And that's the other thing. A lot of people want to go out and investigate, and they want to, looking for an experience, and then they never go back and review any of their audio and video. So they don't even know if they ever even caught anything, even though they may not have experienced anything. So what are you in it for? Again, I tell people, well, then what are you in it for? What are you trying to do? You want to go and just have fun and get scared and do that? Go to the Halloween fun houses. You'll have a lot more fun. It's probably cheaper. than buying all this equipment and going out and investigating. If you're serious about it, I will help you to the nth degree. Even if you're maybe not so serious about it, I will still give you the full information and full disclosure on what real investigating is about. And you can decide for yourself if that's what you want to do and that's what you want to spend your money on. There's one thing people always ask me. They said, ooh, what'd you get into the paranormal for, Jack? I said, for the money. I said, I love to spend it because you don't make any at it.
No.
So that's one of my jokes at my lectures, So yeah, that's just the way it is. It's like watching grass grow, and you're sitting in the dark, talking to nothing, hoping you get a response. I think that's the definition of insanity too. So,
We only have about a minute and a half before we have to go to break here. When you were discussing with people about why they want to get into this field, do you think that before they enter this field, people should have some sort of idea as to why they want to do it?
Yeah, I think it's like anything else. You should have an idea of why you want to do something. I mean, it's like getting into anything else. Again, the paranormal field isn't something you're going to make money at. It's going to be really more, I guess, of a hobby than anything else at this point. But why do you want to do it? Why do you do? And I do ask people that. Why do you want to do it? What are you looking for? A lot of times it's a spiritual answer. I want to find out, is there an afterlife and things like that? And that's a legitimate answer. Sometimes people are like, oh, well, it looks fun on TV. I say, yeah, it does look fun on TV, but in reality, it's really not. And that's why we have a couple free investigations we do for people every year and take them and show them what it's really like and what it's really about. And I think that's sometimes have completely turned people off. I've seen them leave early, and other people stay because they really are interested. But they get a touch of it. They got a feel for it. They saw what a real investigation is like. That's the best thing you can do for people. I mean, if you want to weed out people or show people what it's really like, that's the best way to do it.
Jack Kenna is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio, paranormal investigator extraordinaire. We are going to hop out for our first break of the night. I hope you don't mind there, Jack, because that's what we're going to do. But, commercial time is commercial time. So you just sit back, relax, and if you're in the audience, listen to our promos. Check out the Spaced Out Radio website. We got some really cool features going on and so much more. Jack Kenna will be with us for the next hour. Hour number 3, Joe Roop from Lighting the Void is going to join us as we continue the paranormal chatter, and we introduce you to him as well. All is good on a Friday night. If you're having a drink out there, have a plethora of sips for me, because I'm just drinking a cold Pepsi. We'll be back with more Space Out Radio right after this.
365 days a year, we're in the field, investigating UFO sightings, talking to alien abductees, and visiting secret military locations like Area 51. We're UFO Seekers, official partner of Spaced Out Radio. Follow our daily search for the truth at ufoseekers.com or like us on social media. Catch us on Spaced Out Radio every third Monday of the month as we discuss Area 51, UFOs, and more. And also, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube.
From coast to coast to coast, Blacklight Uncharted is taking on the paranormal across Canada. From ghostly hauntings to the UFOs flying above in conjunction with MUFON Canada, we're closely investigating what's going on in the northern skies and checking out the apparitions that walk among us. Check out our videos right here at spacedoutradio.com. We want to know your thoughts, we want to hear your experiences, and we want you to share your stories. The answers are out there, and we intend to find them.
Would you like to become one of our space travelers? All you have to do is click on the Space Travelers icon at spacedoutradio.com. For only $5 a month, you can get access to some great prizes, as well as private monthly shows, newsletters, and a members-only section on our website. Become a space traveler today.
It's paranormal news at its finest. Welcome to The Encounter. At spaceoutradio.com, The Encounter online is SOR's trusted news source for everything weird and strange going on around the world. This is news editor Eric Markham. Our team of journalists are scouring the planet for those strange stories that rarely make the mainstream. No fear-mongering or fake news here. Head over to spaceoutradio.com and encounter The Encounter.
Want to learn more about aliens, cover-ups, conspiracies, cryptids, and the paranormal? All you have to do is tune in S4 as we take over the Spaced Out Radio Night, starting at midnight Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern, each and every Saturday night, right after Spaced Out Saturdays. Hi there, this is Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal. Join me, Corey Ruiz, and friends as we discuss the hot topics of the night. It's fun, entertaining, and as dark as the night. Find us at spacedoutradio.com.
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Moore. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
Are you an experiencer? Have you had run-ins with strange creatures you can't explain? ETs, Dogman, Bigfoot, werewolves? They're enough to scare the daylights out of anyone. Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski from your 4-Cop. And on the last Monday of every month, you can listen to me and the host, Dave Scott, talk about the weird and the strange being reported on Spaced Out Radio. I'm going to bring my investigations and sources, you bring your experiences, and we'll figure out the rest together. Strange Days on Spaced Out Radio. Come tune us in at spacedoutradio.com.
Want a place to share your experiences without feeling judged? We have the place for you. If you've experienced sightings or contact with ETs, ghosts, cryptids, or UFOs, and you'd like someone to confidentially look into the matter, just fill out an SOR Sightlines report. Our goal is to help you get the answers you need to the experiences you've had with our professional team of researchers. Your information stays 100% confidential. The SOR Sightlines report. Fill out your experience today only at spacedoutradio.com.
Psychic Sundays, spiritual communication, ET contact, Sasquatch in your backyard. We will have it all on Cosmic Passport with me, Elizabeth Anglin. Each Sunday, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, at spacedoutradio.com, I will take you on a journey of enlightenment. The goal is learning from the soul on out. We'd love it if you joined our experience. Cosmic Passport, heard Sundays at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There, you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us, from radio commercials to banners and social media. Have a product you like our hosts to endorse? We can do that too. Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
From British Columbia to Northern California, Pacific North Weird has Cascadia covered. Check out our feature videos at spacedoutradio.com, where I, Vincent Zunza, and my super sleuth partner Alexandra Sullivan track down the weird and strange stories from around the Pacific Northwest, from Bigfoot to Mel's Hole and everything in between. This is what makes life exciting. So why report the normal when we can report the Pacific North Weird right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Don't have time to listen to Spaced Out Radio live? Wherever you are, the car, the office, the shower, or even if you're traveling, we're right here for you. Each Spaced Out Radio show can be found on iTunes, TuneIn, and on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. It's the perfect way for you to catch up on our shows. For more information, just head over to our website, spacedoutradio.com, and tune in to us today.
Welcome to Spaced Out Saturdays with me, Dave Cruz from Beyond the Strange. Our weekly feature on spacedoutradio.com will take you around the world discussing everything from the paranormal to the latest conspiracies from the top guests in their fields. We won't leave any story uncovered. Spaced Out Saturdays at spacedoutradio.com starting 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern.
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Would you like to connect with us? head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. And hit us up on Twitter using the hashtag SpacedOutRadio. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Welcome back to the Spaced Out Radio's Friday night edition with me, Dave Scott, rounding out the week. Tomorrow night on the program, filling in for Dave Cruz, will be Joseph Roop from Lighting the Void on Spaced Out Saturdays. Then on Sunday, Elizabeth Anglin is back for Spaced Out Sunday's Cosmic Passport. It's going to be a great weekend indeed before I'm back on Monday with Susan Fowler talking about shadow people. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time at spacedoutradio.com. We want to welcome in everyone listening in on WQEE 99 Rock the Key down in Noonan, Georgia, home of The Walking Dead. We are live as well on the United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in New Orleans and over 160 countries around the world. We are also live on KTLK, The Fringe FM, Renegade Talk Radio out of Las Vegas. And if you're listening in on Revolution Radio, remember the Double R Machine is a donation station financed by you, the valued listener. Head on over to freedomslips.com and donate today. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Prosopagnosia. Prosopagnosia is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as Bill sets a password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Now, if you want to follow us on social media, you can do so on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Use the hashtag Spaced Out Radio if you want to connect live with me during the show as well. You can give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can find us on Instagram, Dave Scott, SOR. We have a brand new YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio, so I hope you connect with us there. It's no longer Spaced Out Radio Show, just Spaced Out Radio. And you can listen to us on iHeartRadio in the United States, TalkStream Live, tune us in on TuneIn, download and subscribe to our shows on iTunes. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including joining the SOR Space Travelers Club for $5 a month. You could rock out to some Bumblefoot. Shop at the Spaced Out Radio store. We also have a plethora of stories on the Encounter Online, if you're looking for weird, strange, and paranormal news. And we got great videos from UFO Seekers, Contact TV, and so much more at spacedoutradio.com. Tonight we are talking with paranormal investigator Jack Kenna. We're going to get into paranormal television in this hour, as Jack is going to join us for one more hour. Jack, welcome back.
Thank you, sir. It's good to be back.
Got a couple questions from our audience before we get into behind the scenes of paranormal TV. This one comes from Claudia, and she is asking, Jack, have you ever had a conversation with a spirit?
No. Well, not that I knew of at the time. Let's put it that way. There was a time I was, we were investigating locations, asking different questions, seemed to be getting responses. So I guess in that way I was having a conversation. But when I actually investigate like that, I don't take it verbatim at the time. I don't assume it's a spirit I'm talking to. I do ask questions that seem to get responses, or I will say things. But I've never had a conversation like sitting down with you and talking to a spirit. No, I can't say I've ever done that. That answer your question?
Absolutely. Let's get to Char's question. And Char is asking, Jack, how do you pick your locations to investigate?
We don't necessarily pick them. They kind of pick us. People will email us from our to our website, or and they'll ask us if we can come and investigate their locations, or we do a lot of private individual stuff, personal investigations. So people contact us to come help them try to figure out what's really going on. Are they having a haunting or not? So kind of locations pick us. I have been to just a couple of the more well-known TV locations. I don't typically go to those, but I have been to a couple, and those were just to do some fun things, though, and just hone our skills a little bit and hang out with our team and just have some fun.
Let's get to Adam's question. Is there a way, Jack, to test for paranormal without bothering spirits, like with a multimeter or something like that?
Well, I don't think there's a way to test for spirits, so to speak. I mean, if you're using meters, you're using multimeters, there's a lot of different things that can affect these meters that are not paranormal related. Unless you're actively going in and investigating and asking questions and seeing if you get responses to those questions, or if you're just having a conversation with a couple of your team members and you start suddenly getting activity on one of these meters and you have some EVPs that you captured along with it at the same time. There's no device out there that you can just go out and just kind of look around and see if they're, look, it's reacting, so it must be a spirit here. No, you really can't do that. No.
And one more question from Shar. She is asking, Jack, have you ever seen a shadow person or a ghost that was 100% confirmed by yourself?
Yes, actually I have. And not only confirmed by myself, but somebody else. There's been different occasions. I've seen many shadow figures and shadow people, and I don't find them all to be negative either, by the way. I had one less than 3 feet from me at the end of a couch, standing up while I was sitting on the couch and looking directly at me, and I brought my camera over, and I wasn't afraid of it. I had no fear of it. It didn't give me that kind of reaction, and I put the infrared camera on it, and it didn't show up in the camera, but I could see this thing plain as day. And my reaction was a very bad word, in which it slowly faded away. And after in review of the evidence, I caught an EVP of a woman's voice saying didn't like me, and it just so happened that that particular shadow figure looked like a woman. So yes, I've seen some. I also saw one on the Star of India. Just looked like a man. Just a black figure of a man walk out of one shadow across the lit deck and into another shadow and disappear. And somebody else saw it at the same time I did. And so yeah, I've seen them. I have seen them.
What about when you are, in a place where you're not picking up anything, and then you go review your evidence or your data, and next thing you know, there's a shadow person standing beside one of your team, or there's, something happening that you just didn't see with your eyeball. Is that kind of the excitement of it all for you? Is when you collect that, when you know it wasn't there?
Yeah, I mean, that's exciting to find something like that. You also have to go the next step, though, and try to figure out what it really is. Is it really a shadow figure? Is it something else? Is it just something you didn't notice at the time? So, it's exciting to find those things, especially when you spend hours and hours and hours of finding nothing. Then you come across something. But you also need to make sure what you're looking at is potentially paranormal before you present it as evidence to anybody. And we do that by either going back to locations or having the location take photos of that particular area for us so we can take a better look at what was there, just in case there's something we forgot about or we missed or we didn't capture on the regular footage ourselves or in our photos. So you always got to make sure of what you're really looking at. But it is exciting, yes, when you do finally come across something.
Have you ever taken an attachment home?
Yes, I did. I actually did. And it came out in kind of a negative way, and I don't think it was trying to be negative, but I had an attachment happen to me, and actually you may have seen it on one of the shows on Haunted Case Files, coming back from the Taft Public Library, and there was an attachment there that ended up causing me to have an accident in order to recognize that it was trying to get a message across to me. And it was not meant to harm me, although it damaged my car pretty well. So I could get into that, but we'll discuss that at length at another time.
Do you go out of your way to protect yourself before and after you leave a location?
Yeah, I do. I have my own techniques I use based on my own faith and some techniques that have been taught to me by some friends of mine, using white light to clear myself. And that was one thing in that particular incident I just talked about. There'd some things that happened. We got out of there much later than we expected to, and I actually did not clear myself before leaving that location.
Do you think that is probably one of the most important aspects of ghost hunting that most teams really don't pay much attention to?
I don't know if most teams don't pay attention to it. There is people and individuals who don't pay attention to it, but I do believe, as we discussed earlier, in the paranormal field, it's a spiritual realm we're investigating, right? So I do believe you have to be grounded in faith, some faith in something, in order to give yourself some spiritual protection.
Let's get back to television here, because that is the main reason why we brought you on. When I met you in Provincetown, we had just a fantastic conversation regarding paranormal television, what is real, what is not so real. And as we talked about in the first hour for a little bit, a lot of people are using paranormal television shows as their education system on learning how to investigate. One of the hot button topics when it comes to paranormal television, obviously done for ratings, is provoking of a spirit. Now, there are many in this field who absolutely refuse to do it because they feel it is an absolute insult to the ghosts themselves, but there are people who've made names for themselves as saying that's the only way they get the quality evidence that they feel is necessary to provide to whomever invited them into the location to investigate. What is your decision or idea behind provocation of spirit?
Right. There's provoking, and then there's provoking. Right. Provoking is, and the latter of the two is more things of like being rude, swearing, just being out and outright, disrespectful. Okay, calling them names, calling them different things, and trying to get a reaction by being negative. And then I had told you there's provoking, which is kind of a different way. It's more of a, if you know a little bit about the history of maybe the location or something like that before you walk in, or even if you don't, you can try to provoke a response by going into the home or the location going, wow, I really don't like the color of this wallpaper. Wow, I wonder who picked it out. Geez, did you pick it out? I don't know if I really care for it. That's not necessarily being disrespectful. You're sure not being violent. You're not swearing at the poor thing, but you might invoke some type of response if it really comes to that. I usually don't do things like that until it's really necessary. There was one location we got a response, and it was just based on some things people had told us about the people who had owned that property before, that this woman was a mean woman who lived in this house. Nobody liked her. Nobody came to her wake. And I said, as more of a question, exactly that. It's like, well, I heard you were a really mean woman. Nobody liked you. Nobody came to your wake. And right after that, we had what we heard as a disembodied scream of a woman. But when we played back the recorder, it was a voice of a woman saying, they liked me. So there's an instance of showing provocation without being rude, ignorant, or whatever you want to call it, by just using history that's been told to you that you find out is incorrect anyway. Even later on, you found out. In our research, we found out that was totally incorrect. But the spirit was right. They did like her. The community did like her, and she was really well loved within her community. But I don't approve of provoking in the way of swearing at spirits. Or would you go into somebody's home and treat them that way? Who invited you to come into their home? Would you come in, and what would happen to you if you did? Right? So I always tell people who are investigating, talk to them like you'd like to be talked to in your own home. And you'll get more responses that way, I think, anyway, if there is anything there.
So why on television do we not see that attitude?
Because it's like we discussed a little bit earlier, and like you and I have talked about before. TV is about entertainment and ratings. That's what TV is really about. From the producer's perspective, from the network's perspective, if you don't have a fun, exciting, entertaining show, you're not going to be on the air too long. So they want them to be more controversial, more exciting, more whatever to get those ratings up. That's why I tell people what you see on TV is not what real investigating is really like, what real paranormal teams do. Even for my own shows that I'm on, Paranormal Survivor, Haunted Case Files, I mean, they interview us, and I would say with shows like that, pay more, if you really want to learn about investigating, pay more attention to the people that are being interviewed during the interviews. You're going to get more of an honest response from them. The reenactments that they do for our shows, like when we're investigating stuff like that, do reenactments. They're all played up to be more exciting, more whatever. I mean, even on my show, I mean, we got the guy that plays me. We call him Fake Jack because he's much more enjoyable to watch than I am on an investigation. It's like having William Shatner play you. It's very played up. It's very good, and he's a good actor. But it's meant to be entertaining, and that's the important thing to remember. So the more reality type shows, that's what they're doing. That doesn't mean to say some of the evidence that presented and stuff isn't real. I'm sure it is. As a matter of fact, in some cases I know it is. But it's a TV show. It has to be exciting and entertaining.
And let's face it, ratings equate to money. And that's why the television companies are into it, because if it can translate into money, that is what it's all about. That's what they're there for. Yes, right. They're there for providing entertainment, but have you ever been told when you've been on set to fake evidence?
No. I mean, well, like with our shows, they take actual investigations that we've done and they do reenactments of them. They play some of our real evidence. So what you're seeing in the real footage is stuff we've collected just on real investigations. We had no TV crews or anything with us. It's not like that. This is just footage and stuff you see from our real investigations that we've done. They oftentimes like to ask you to say the D word. Well, don't you think it was a demon? And I'll be honest and say, no, I really don't. I think it was a negative entity or a negative type haunting, but I don't think there was anything demonic about it. I try to avoid saying that word unless I really feel it was, based on my own perceptions. But that's a word. Demonic is something that I think that is thrown around so much now. I think that word is almost just indicative now of just a negative haunting, right? Somebody got scratched, somebody got hurt. We just call it demonic because TV likes to say demonic because it brings in, let's face it, people hear that word and probably the first thing they think of is the movie The Exorcist, right? So, oh, it's exciting, oh, it's dangerous, and it brings those feelings to people. It's scary, right? So, but I think the word demonic has been thrown around so much now, it doesn't necessarily have the meaning it used to anymore.
Well, and that's an important key there, because I remember, Jack, a few months ago, Linda Godfrey from the Dogman fame, she put my name forward to a potential television series up here in Canada where they were searching for Dogman north of the border. So I do my Skype interview with them, and they're just, writing out the process to see if they have something there. But I wasn't allowed to use the word Dogman. I had to use the word werewolf.
Yeah, I mean, and when companies do that, I mean, I just stand my ground and say, no, I'm not saying that. I'm not going to use that word. I've said that to my producer while on set being interviewed, and can't you just say? I said, no, I can't. I know what you want. I know the reason you want it, but that's not what it was, and I'm not going to say that. I said, I can tell you it was a negative haunting or it was a negative entity, but it was not the D word. And a lot of times I won't even say it in front of them, because if you do, they'll just edit it in. So if you want to have integrity, if you want to be honest, you got to stand your ground. And a lot of times you'll find that they'll respect you more because of that.
I understand that, but why are there such key trigger words that are driving ratings? Is it because people want to be scared and the word demon is scary?
Yeah, I think so. I think it just comes in with, if you look the way Hollywood has always played things, werewolves, demons, vampires. They all have that negative connotation of something scary, something that can harm you or kill you. And it's frightening to people. It's the let's call it the Halloween factor. Okay, it's just the way Hollywood and television perceive things that they know will get ratings, which will make money for them.
Since it is about the money, who's getting paid?
Producers, directors. I wish I had.
Well, I mean, but that's a reality.
We get paid a little bit. I mean, I get payment in a way because they either pay for my transportation. They're in a hotel and give me a meal allowance or whatever, and so the purpose. I mean, but on the more reality type shows like where they're actually got cameras following them around, stuff like that. And I don't want to mention shows, but this type. They're not just interviews and reenactments. They're the live shows. Those guys are making money. They're getting paid, So people are making money, unless you are a producer or director or whatever. Those are the ones making the most money. But people do make money or they wouldn't be doing it. In the shows like I do, we don't really get paid. And the purpose that I do it for is to reach out to more people, to try to help more people. I have my own different perspective. I'm not trying to say that I'm, almighty here. Geez, I wish I did get paid, but I kind of really don't. I got paid a little bit for Haunted Case Files. It wasn't much. But I'm not necessarily personally doing it for the money, for TV. I try to look at it from a different perspective. But most people are doing it to get their own shows, to make money, to become famous, and that's what they're doing it for. And I'm not putting that down. That's okay. I don't really have an issue with that. But there's a price to pay for that on the other end of things.
Maybe you just don't have the right agent.
I don't have any agent. Maybe that is my problem.
But there are people making money off of this outside of it. I mean, let's face it. Ego is one thing. If you don't have food to eat, though, you have to make a change. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I know. And people are doing it for a living. I mean, you probably can get your own TV show if you really want to, and make a living at it. Okay, I'm not saying you can't. I'm saying it's few and far between. You have to have the darn right show. You have to have something that's going to make ratings. Maybe there's something that's a little bit different from what's been out there for a while now, because I do know within the television industry it's getting a little harder for all these shows to survive. So they have a formula they follow, and they try to follow that formula, but they look for something a little bit different too. You may have noticed all of a sudden there's more shows coming about haunted towns now. Okay, and those are cool. They're interesting. I watch them, and I know the guys who are on them, and it's interesting and it's cool, and it's just a different way of throwing the same thing out there. Right? It's a little bit different look at it, but I enjoy them. Even I watch some of the shows and I enjoy them. But yeah, these guys are doing it to make money, and again, nothing against that. It's just TV's always been out there for people to have a job and make money at, and that's just another industry, okay? And it is an industry, and there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. But for people who are looking at these shows to try to figure out how to become an investigator, again, it goes back to that. Don't watch those shows to become an investigator. Watch them to maybe, learn a little bit, or, be entertained, or find out who's kind of, in the industry and who's out there and who's really doing some good work sometimes. But don't rely on it. This is the end all be all of investigating, and that's what the whole paranormal is about. It's really not.
To me, it sounds like these television companies, just by listening to what you said, are really taking advantage of people in the paranormal field who are really used to not making a buck off of all of this.
I don't know if they're taking advantage of them. I mean, people get into the TV shows because they find it exciting. It's different. You're on TV. It's kind of cool. It really is. I don't know if they're taking advantage of them. I mean, you could say, well, they're taking advantage of you, Jack, because they're not paying you anything and they're making all the money. Yeah, you could say that, but then again, I'm doing my own thing with it. It gets me out there so I can maybe be seen a little bit more, so I can reach out to more people, or more people can reach out to us and I can help them. So I'm getting something out of it that I kind of want and our team wants. Right? It's not necessarily money. It's to reach out to more people, to help more people and things like that. And I think some of these other guys that are doing some of the shows are like that too. I think deep down they're still doing it for those reasons, but they're also making money. It's a job. It's become a job, and they're working. And let's face it, production companies and networks are all about producing shows to entertain people, because you know what? That's a job in itself, right? They're trying to make money to support their families too. So they want things that are out there that are popular. So if you look at it all, it's all about that. But that's what kind of TV is about. And it goes back to what you see on TV is not necessarily what real investigating is about. It's a little bit about what it's about, but it's something else too.
There's a lot of people who will believe that if you're collecting any type of money for paranormal investigation, or you get into paranormal television, that you've sold out. It's almost like the music industry, where, a band like Metallica changes their sound for one album, the Black Album, and all of a sudden all the original metalheads say Metallica sold out. It's the same as in ghost hunting, where if you try to make a living off of this, you're obviously not doing it for the right reasons anymore. Did you get a lot of flack from that? Or do you know people who are giving others flack about that?
No, I do know that at least a couple individuals, once I was on the show, said I sold out. And, of course, Ellen stood up for me. My founder of our team, Ellen McNeil, stood up for me and said, no, he didn't. He wasn't, and I didn't. I mean, but there's always going to be people, yes, believe you sold out. I've been picked on for doing a comic book about one of our investigations, and how terrible that was. But the person never read it. They didn't really realize what it was really about. So yeah, there's always going to be people. Sometimes I think some people are just jealous of other people that end up on TV, and I could tell you, there's because I've talked to them about it, and one of the individuals from Tennessee Wraith Chasers there, I did ask him, I said, how did you guys end up getting on TV? Did you know they were found by their YouTube videos they used to do? That's how they were found. That's somebody approached them. They never thought that was going to happen. So, when it happens and you get the opportunity, you can test the waters. I mean, I always tell people, test the waters with television. It's going to do some things, but, they have their own agenda. But maybe you can get something out there to people. And for some of the investigators that are, maybe even most of the investigators that are on TV, they're going out there and doing other things, and they're doing events, and they're doing lectures, and they're talking to people, spreading the word about what real investigating is like too, just like I do, right? Just because they're on TV and they are making money doesn't mean they're not serious or they're not passionate about the paranormal either. I think most of them are. And there's just another realm for them to reach out. But yes, there is people who will always naysay you just because you are on TV. Yeah, I don't let that bother me, though.
Out of all the investigators that you've discussed who are involved with paranormal television, were some of them created just for the show? And the reason why I ask that is I remember the older Ghost Hunters shows with the TAPS team. Okay. Yeah. No offense to the beautiful ladies who were on that show, but they were dressed quite homely. And then all of a sudden, the last few years, all of a sudden they're showing a little bit more cleavage. Their hair is always done. There's makeup. They're not wearing their glasses when they used to. You know what I'm saying? Like, it happens. They sexied it up, if we want to use a television term.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that just goes back to the networks being involved and the production companies being involved and trying to, reach out to another level of TV watchers, the younger, generation or whatever, put the beautiful girls on and you'll get more 20, 30-year-olds watching the shows, right? Or, so it's just the way it is, and I think that's TV. I don't think that was necessarily by choice. And I don't think it's gone too far or anything like that, but yeah, they sexy it up. They do different things, and that has a lot to do with production companies. Because I've met these people on the outside, and they're more conservative, and they're good people, and they're friends of mine. I know them, and I'm not saying they're not doing anything they're not comfortable with doing. I just saying they take some suggestions from the production companies, which they have to do.
Absolutely, they have to do. I mean, let's face it, there's a career and an image that has to, be a part of everything. I want to get to Ron's question here. Ron is asking, Jack, what is your opinion of television shows doing sloppy, low-budget type shows? Do they make credibility of paranormal investigation harder to achieve?
I wish he gave an example of one.
Yeah,
although I did just watch one on the Helltown out of Boston, which is totally Boston, Ohio, which is a totally made up show. You can tell just by watching it, and is that low budget? I don't know if it's low budget, but it was fun to watch. But it was total entertainment. It's like it's nothing real. I don't know if they hurt anything at all. In some cases I kind of find them funny. So it's, again, TV's just it's about entertainment and production companies and making money and all that stuff. And not that you can't get something out of it, and not that it can't help teach something about the paranormal. But do the low budget really things hurt the paranormal? Sometimes, yeah, I think they do, but then in the people that I talk to that approach me who watch these shows, it doesn't seem to. I mean, they kind of realize that, that was kind of a crazy show and kind of stupid. And like they knew it had nothing really to do with the real paranormal. And these are people who are novices to it. So, in the end, I don't really think it hurts. Those shows go by the wayside. Nobody pays attention to them anyway.
Well, do you think the staging of events in these television shows, and a number of them have been caught for doing this, and some have even come out and admitted that they have done it, do you think that hurts the credibility of paranormal investigation, especially with the mainstream? Because the one thing that I have noticed during this show, and even looking over social media, is everybody is yearning, Jack, for mainstream credibility in this field as an investigator. And when we see television hyping up things like demons or creating evidence, shall we say, for the sake of ratings, do you think that is damaging to the profile of the paranormal?
Overall, I mean, it probably is for the people who are out there trying to disprove it to begin with. I think in the paranormal field, it's just more damaging to that show and the people involved with that show. Because you just, if when it's proven that you did things like that, your credibility goes to zero in the paranormal field. Because if you did it then, you probably did it before, and you're probably always going to do it. Once you start faking evidence, and you get caught even just once, that's it in the paranormal field. You're done. People will not give you any real, credibility after that, or credibility to anything you do after that. It takes number one, it takes a long, just like in anything else, it takes a long time to build a reputation. It takes seconds to take it down, and you may never get it back. All right. But as a community as a whole, to the people who always put it down and are trying to disprove it all anyway, it hurts us there. It hurts the whole paranormal community.
Does the production companies even care, though? that somebody's reputation or one of their stars' reputation who may have an exemplary record with how they conduct paranormal investigation gets caught up in one of these television scams because they probably have to due to contract obligations.
It only, I would think it only matters to them to the point of it just ruined the ratings of their show and they're going to lose money. All right. I mean, you got to remember, companies, that's what they're about, right? So they are concerned to a point, but if they were really concerned, they wouldn't have made that happen to begin with, right? Because it's, hey, you really need to get some evidence. You better make up something or, we're going to have problems, right? So, and if you're willing to do that, they cause the problem to begin with. I think production companies are concerned. I think there's people within the production companies, though, also that don't like when their crews go out there and do that. Because you got to remember, the guys at the top may not always know what's going on, right? They're not involved in every little detail of every show. So I think there are concerns about it. But, and you'll notice that if sometimes the company that's producing the show backs up the person who maybe did it, or the headliner of their show, or they just drop them out and let them fend for themselves. I think that shows the difference between a company that kind of cares about their people and one that doesn't care about their people. That's a tougher question to answer, because until you're in the details, in their inner workings, but they are concerned. It's just to what degree the production companies are concerned.
So in the end, have you ever been asked to stage evidence, or do you know people who have?
No, like I said, with the shows that I do, they're not following us around, so I've never been asked to stage evidence. Well, again, what you see of the real evidence that's shown on our shows is just what we actually collected from a real investigation. The interviews, I just tell people what I know. I talk to them about what really happened on that investigation and what happened. I have not heard of anybody who was ever asked, at least within the company I work with, has been asked to fake any evidence or come up with stuff fraudulently. No, I don't know about other shows. I couldn't talk to that. I wouldn't know. I would hope not, but I don't know. I don't know about other shows. I can only tell you about the ones I work with. And no, nobody I know within those shows or myself has ever been asked to fake anything.
So where are all these claims coming from then?
It's a good question. I think in some cases, some claims are, I don't want to say made up, but I think some things that were said by different investigators may be taken out of context. Sometimes it is true, and it's just been found out, whether somebody within the production company leaked it or whatever. I don't know. It's a good question. Where are all the claims coming from? I think some claims come from just people who don't like the shows or don't like the individuals on the shows too. That can happen too. All I can tell you is if you hear something about somebody, do some research, talk to them yourselves, see what you think for yourself. If they seem to be being honest with you, fine,
Would you work on a production yourself or put your credibility on the line if someone asked you to fake evidence?
No. Why would I? That would just ruin the whole purpose of what I'm trying to do within the paranormal. So I wouldn't. No, it's not worth it. I mean, I'm trying to be out here to help people and work with people who are experiencing what they believe is a haunting and try to help them resolve those. By doing that, you just ruin your reputation. Somebody will find out at some point, and you'll just ruin your reputation.
In your idea, then, is there the perfect paranormal television show out there? Like if you were if you were producing, what would you use pieces of a few different shows?
Oh God, I don't know. I mean, thank God I don't produce anything. That's a tough question. I mean, if I was going to produce a show, I don't know. I guess realistically, the kind of shows I like is maybe kind of the ones I do, because you're getting the real feedback from the real investigators, and all right, you can play around a little bit with doing reenactments, so you can make them a little bit exciting. But as long as you stick mostly to what really happened on the investigation, I think you end up with a good balance of entertainment versus the real story. I do like those kind of shows, and that's again, my two are Paranormal Survivor, Haunted Case Files, but things like The Haunted and other shows like those. I mean, they're a good balance because you get to watch the interviews with the real people who experienced these things. And I think you glean a lot more from, like I said, from those interviews than really the rest of what's shown. And there's some real footage involved sometimes. So that's raw footage just from investigations. It's not TV crews following these people around. That's what they did on their investigation. So I lean more towards, I guess that. Maybe that's why I'm kind of involved with the shows I am.
You mentioned, I think, an important word in your last sentence. You said entertainment, and I do believe a lot of the paranormal field has forgotten about the entertainment factor of the television shows. Would you agree that in the paranormal field, away from television, those investigators are taking what they see on television way too seriously then?
I think some are. Yes, I really do think some are. I mean, there's people out there in the paranormal field that are, and nothing against them, but they're purists and they want to see real investigating. And you can do that. You can actually see that. There's a lot of sites now, a lot of Facebook pages, different stuff like that, and groups that broadcast their investigations online. You can actually watch those and see what's really going on. And again, those are pure investigations. They're not for TV. They're not played up. What you're seeing is what's happening, right? And yeah, somebody could play things up, but then you're going to ruin the credibility of your team if you're doing that. But I've watched, some of those, and it's just like going on an investigation. It's boring. You sit there, you watch it. That's real investigating. Maybe something happens. Maybe you start getting some responses on a device, and that's interesting. But again, as a real investigator, I don't know what that means yet. It's interesting. We get some activity, we get some K2 hits, or we get some words come through a device. What does it really mean? I don't know yet, but it's interesting. So that's what real investigating is about. And if that's what you want, then I would say watch those. Don't get too caught up in what you see on the TV shows. You enjoy the TV shows, get something from them, and you can get some good things from them about locations and places to go, and maybe some new equipment that's out there that you might want to utilize or try out. But remember, it's still about entertainment, and that's what TV has always been about, and movies.
So when you see the paranormal purist taking liberties with the way television shows are run and getting angry about it, do you have to remind some of these people, if you're talking to them, say, look, this is a scaled down version of what we do. We're doing this for television. Do you have to set that reminder in there when you're talking with people privately, or when you're at a conference or a paranormal gala?
I mean, yeah, I have talked to people about that. I mean, there's people bring that up, and we talked about it just like we're talking about it now. And I've said, you got to remember, it's about entertainment, and it's about, not playing to just us in the paranormal field. It's playing to a wider audience, right? Because they want to bring people in to watch the shows. So you got to keep that in mind, and it's not going to be a show about real investigating and what it's really like to investigate, a show like that really wouldn't last too long on television because people really wouldn't watch it, right? It'd be too boring, right? And you are condensing down hours, I don't know how many hours. You're looking at some locations they investigated for 3 nights at, right? So you're looking at I don't know how many hours of footage that they filmed that they've had nothing going on, and picking out the best stuff that happened and narrowing that down to 45 minutes out of, 40 hours of footage. They narrow it down to because I say 40 hours because you got multiple cameras and multiple recorders and multiple everything else. So you're narrowing all that down to 45 minutes worth of footage. So how can you show a real investigation within that time frame? You can't.
Where does paranormal television go right?
Well, right within investigating, you're talking about like real investigating or things like that.
Sir.
I think it goes right in some cases of showing like the setup of equipment, all right, how they set things up. They do talk about that a little bit on most shows. We set these cameras up here. We're looking down there because this is where activity was reported, and this is where most things happen. So I think that shows you, okay, as an investigator, you want to know those things. Where is activity going on? Where does activity reported? And you want to set up your equipment there. I think the way the equipment's set up is important, like for the DVR cameras. And even the way that they film with it when they're doing their handheld cameras, the way that how they're looking, and how they always make sure they're looking in an important area. The camera's not set down facing a wall, okay? It's set down facing a direction, all right, so that you can see everything. I think that's where it goes right, is in maybe the mechanics of investigating, okay? So that's my thoughts on that.
So when you're looking at a television show and you're sitting at home, and I'm putting you in the position of most people then, who are out there who maybe haven't experienced paranormal investigation or a paranormal location, how do they know whether or not there is reality being shown to them?
I don't know if you really can. I mean, sometimes it's hard to determine what's just real and what's being played to the camera. I assume that's what you're referring to. What's reality and
absolutely
what's kind of being played up. I think that's hard to determine sometimes. Everybody reacts differently to different things. I think when you see something being really done over the top, so to speak, I think you can kind of guess that, okay, that's being played to the camera. If it looks like it's a real reaction to something that happened, then it probably is, If they're showing you footage of something they captured, I think that's real. I think, okay, they really did capture this mist moving across or down the hallway or something. Yeah, and yes, you could say, well, maybe that's fake because maybe that's, photoshopped or who knows. But it looks real. And I can assume, I'm not going to judge them at that point. I'm going to say, okay, that's a very good possibility they captured something. What is it? Is it paranormal? Is it a ghost? I don't know, but it's interesting. Looks like they caught something that's unexplained. But I think it is hard to tell, and I think they do that on purpose. I mean, they obviously do that on purpose. They don't want you thinking that this or that is played up to the camera. They want you to get caught up in the story and what's going on and be drawn into it, right? That's part of what it's about.
Michael wants to know, Jack, do you know of any mainstream scientists who are working with these shows or even without the shows to find proof of the paranormal, ghosts, demons, or the afterlife?
I don't personally know of any that are working with the shows or anything like that, or, with groups. Besides the ones you've seen on some of the shows who are more into the technology of this stuff. I do know at my own work that I was very surprised when some of my fellow colleagues found out it was on TV and came to me and talked to me about the paranormal. That was kind of surprising. I wouldn't expect engineers or scientists to kind of be really interested in that, but I found they are, and they are interested in it. Not that they're necessarily searching on their own, but they do come to me sometimes and talk to me and ask me questions and tell me about experiences they've had. So that's interesting, but they're not necessarily working actively in the paranormal. I haven't really looked into that to see who is or isn't. So I don't know if I really answered that question. I'm sure there is, probably, because a lot of people are interested in it, and I'm sure there's scientists and engineers and other people out there who are actively investigating, and you just may not hear about it from them.
We only got a couple minutes left with you tonight. Is there anything paranormally that you haven't experienced yet that you would love to have happen, whether it's during an investigation or on a personal level?
I don't know. I guess whatever it might be is the thing I really haven't experienced yet. So I don't know what that is yet. There could be something I haven't thought of yet. So I've experienced a lot over the years. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I've seen shadow figures. I've heard disembodied voices, and I've seen apparitions, and I've experienced a lot of it. So I don't think I ever want to experience a demonic. I have experienced one demonic haunting so far, but I don't want to deal with a true demonic entity, I guess, in the form of I have to try to be involved with exorcising it from a place or a person. I do know people who do that, and I will turn it over to them. I don't think I really want to be involved with that.
We just got about 30 seconds left with you tonight, Jack, and I want to say thank you so much for being on Spaced Out Radio. Let my audience know where they can find your books.
Okay, well, yes, I do have a new book that's out right now. It's called Hauntings, Ghosts, and Demons. That's available on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com, or directly through me. You can go to our website at spiritsofnewengland.org, and you can actually order a signed copy, which I will sign it and mail it out to you. And then I do have a new book coming out called Paranormal Research. It'll be coming out in June. And that's also available for pre-order, according to my publisher right now on Amazon.com.
Mm-hmm. My friend, that was just way too much fun. Thank you so much for being on the show tonight. I really appreciate it.
Dave. Thank you, Dave. My pleasure. I hope I can come back on again, too.
Anytime, my friend. Jack Kenna is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We're going to say goodnight to Jack, but we're going to bring in from KTLK, the Fringe FM, and Lighting the Void, Joseph Roop, to come on in. Still a little pissed off that Joe got a haircut this week. You know how anti-haircut I am these days. But we're going to talk more paranormal, and we're going to talk a little SOR with Joe right after this. Once again, thank you to Jack Kenna for being on tonight's show, but we got an hour to go. And we'll see where it goes, because we never really know. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott. Back for the final hour of this show, and this week, right after this.
We're getting strange on Saturday nights. Hi there, this is Dave Cruz, and each Saturday, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, I will take you on a tour of the weird and obtuse on Spaced Out Saturdays. From aliens to Sasquatch and every tinfoil hat in between, we got you covered. Join us at spacedoutradio.com for Spaced Out Saturdays. See you there.
Not ready for bed on Saturday night? Right after Spaced Out Saturdays, hop on over to S4 with Corey Ruiz and me, Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal. With S4, there are no limits to what we try and uncover. From government conspiracies to helping clean up the paranormal, no topic is safe on S4. We get to the heart of the matter, of the subjects you want to learn more about. So tune in on S4 starting at midnight Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern, only on spacedoutradio.com.
Have you had an experience you can't explain? Would you like someone you can trust to look into it? We have just the place. The SOR Sightlines Report is the place for you to find answers, whether it's Bigfoot, UFOs, Dogman, ghosts, aliens, or anything strange. The Sightlines Report will get you connected with one of our expert researchers to find out what's going on. All of your personal information is kept 100% confidential. The SOR Sightlines Report, a place for you to find the answers you need, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski, lead investigator with U4Cop. On the final Monday of every month, you can listen to me and host Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio's Strange Days. We're going to get to the heart of the matter when it comes to what's happening out there. People are seeing and experiencing things from ET contact to Bigfoot, and I want to hear about it. Your experiences are what we investigators need to help solve these unknown mysteries. So tune in at spacedoutradio.com to the final Monday of every month from Butch Witkowski's Strange Days.
This is Eric Markham, news editor for the Spaced Out Radio's The Encounter Online. We have put together a great team of writers and journalists from all over the world to bring you top-quality paranormal stories, from alien encounters to the latest conspiracies. You won't find any of that fake news here. True stories and top-notch reporting as we look to bring these experiences to the mainstream. The Encounter Online, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Do you want to know the truth? Do UFOs exist? Are aliens real? Are the governments hiding the biggest secret in history? We're UFO seekers, and we're on a hunt for the truth. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow along with us as we journey across the United States, visiting UFO hotspots and alien hotspots, trying to document the UFO phenomenon. Catch us on Spaced Out Radio every third Monday of the month as we discuss Area 51, UFOs, and more. And also, don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube.
Patrolling the Pacific Northwest, we are always on the lookout for the strange and unassuming stories that real people are experiencing. Hi, I'm Vincent Zunza from Pacific North Weird. Me and Alexandra Sullivan have teamed to bring to you those odd stories that never seem to make it into the mainstream. Stories so weird that will leave you scratching your head wondering, is this real? It's as real as it gets with Pacific North Weird. You can watch our videos right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Become more intimate and interactive with Spaced Out Radio. Join our Space Travelers Club with your new membership. For $5 a month, we'll provide you with special access to the website, monthly prize draws from books to psychic readings, along with monthly newsletter, private interviews, and more. Sign up today to be part of Spaced Out Radio's experience.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Don't have time to listen to Spaced Out Radio Live? Wherever you are, the car, the office, the shower, or even if you're traveling, we're right here for you. Each Spaced Out Radio show can be found on iTunes, TuneIn, and on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. It's the perfect way for you to catch up on our shows. For more information, just head over to our website, spacedoutradio.com, and tune in to us today.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Strange creatures lurking in the night, the sounds of wood knocking in the forest, odd happenings right out of a fictional world. These are the reports I love. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, and I would love it if you join me and Spaced Out Radio host Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month on our journey into the unknown land of cryptozoology at spacedoutradio.com. From Mothman to Frogman and everything in between. Hey, they don't call me the crypto guru for nothing.
It's Cosmic Sundays with me, Elizabeth Anglin, in Cosmic Passport. Let me take you down a 3-hour spiritual journey where we will get into everything from ET contact to Psychic Sundays. It's a journey of listening and learning together with some of the best professionals in their fields. You can tune in to Cosmic Passport at spacedoutradio.com every Sunday, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern.
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and hashtag Spaced Out Radio, and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back to the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Great to have you with us. Tomorrow night on the program for Spaced Out Saturdays, my third hour guest here, Joseph Roop, will be hosting in lieu of Dave Cruz, taking a much-needed weekend off to go spend with his beautiful wife. And then on Sunday, Elizabeth Anglin is back for Spaced Out Sundays, Cosmic Passport. Both shows get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time at spacedoutradio.com. I will be back on Monday with Susan Fowler as my guest, talking about shadow people. Once again, everything at spacedoutradio.com. We want to welcome in everyone listening in on WQEE 99 Rock the Key down in Noonan, Georgia, home of The Walking Dead. We are live as well on the United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in New Orleans and over 160 countries around the world. Great to have you with us as well. We are also live on KTLK, The Fringe FM, Renegade Talk Radio out of Las Vegas. And if you're listening in on Revolution Radio, remember the Double R Machine is a donation station financed by you, the valued listener. Head on over to freedomslips.com and donate today. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Prosopagnosia. Prosopagnosia is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, Space Travelers, as Bill sets the password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Now, if any of us actually know what prosopagnosia is, I will clap for you on air. Anyhow, we are moving on. If you want to follow us on social media, you can do so on Twitter, at Spaced Out Radio. Use the hashtag Spaced Out Radio if you want to connect live with me during the show as well. You can give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. You can also join us for live chat in the SOR Space Travelers group. You can follow me on Instagram, Dave Scott, SOR. We have a brand new YouTube channel, which I would love for you guys to check out. It is Spaced Out Radio. No longer Spaced Out Radio Show. That one was compromised. So I need you to subscribe to our new YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio. Would love it if you did. That's where our new archives are. You can also listen to us on iHeartRadio in the United States, TalkStream Live, tune us in on TuneIn, download and subscribe to our shows on iTunes. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of plethoric features for you, including joining the SOR Space Travelers Club for $5 a month. You can rock out to Bumblefoot, shop at our Spaced Out Radio store like Milo, and you can also watch great videos from UFO Seekers at Contact TV. And if you're looking for all the best paranormal news or strange, weird, obtuse, visit the Encounter online on our website. We got great stories being updated daily there. We'd love for you to check it out. Everything, a plethora of features at spacedoutradio.com. Hour number 3, we bring in Joseph Roop from Lighting the Void and KTLK. Joe, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me again, Dave.
Not a problem. You're following big shoes because Jack Kenna literally just got off the phone with him before, this hour started up. And, Jack I got to meet earlier this year along with Eric Markham and Everett Thiemer, part of my team, at the Provincetown Paracon earlier this year. And what a down-to-earth guy he is. What an absolute down-to-earth guy he is. So I was really glad to get him on so he could give us some real insider's info on Paranormal Television. Are you a fan of Paranormal TV?
A little bit, But, you're right. He was, his responses to all your questions were very honest and very down-to-earth. Yeah. A practical guy.
I think so too, because, we all have this meeting, and I mean, you read it as well. You have a plethora of friends in the paranormal field, and you see how they react to, paranormal television. And the people who are in this field aren't very flattered, if we can use that word, by what they see on TV. Do you think paranormal TV gets a strange stick?
Yeah. Well, it's like you were saying, it's all about entertainment. I interviewed David Oman on Lighting the Void once, who Zach Baggins had, went on his show. I don't really watch that show that much. And he had some, I know you guys were talking about stuff that hadn't happened to him, but in that house, he had some actual things happen to him. And because those things actually happened to him, he said that he wrote a book actually, and said that David Oman was possessed. So, he was downstairs yelling at spirits trying to get him to do something, and they reacted in a way that scared the hell out of him. So that stuff happens for real on those shows sometimes,
Do you think, for the most part, that paranormal television has been a blessing or a curse for this field of research?
Matt, well, in the beginning, it was a blessing. It was really cool to see it happen. It's kind of like watching Star Wars for the first time or something. But then now it's becoming like a fad. And anytime something becomes a fad, things get a little bit watered down.
Couple nice comments coming for you. Preacher says Joe has a great radio voice. And people are already reminding me that you got a haircut earlier this week.
I didn't have a choice. I can't stand to feel hair in my ears and eyes, Dave. I can't.
Disappointing.
My goodness, it just bothers. It bothers the life. I can't stand it. So I tried, and I kept it long on the front so I can whip it around a little bit, for the
good.
ladies.
That's good, because you are former Arkansas boy band material.
You're always a jokester.
Well, that's just the way it goes. I want to say thank you to whoever the 2 new followers are on Spreaker. We're up to 1,150 followers now on Spreaker.
Big numbers.
That jumped quick. We're moving on up. Slowly but surely, we're moving on up. I want to see 1,200 here by the end of the year. I don't know if it's possible, but I want to see 1,200. That would be kind of cool. So make sure, if you haven't subscribed to our show or given us a follow on Spreaker yet, make sure you do that, because we want to make sure that, you follow us. So that way you can check out what we're doing as well. Hey, Joe, I just want to say you're going to be hosting for Dave Cruz tomorrow night, your partner at KTLK, The Fringe FM. And I want to say thank you on behalf of our audience for filling on in to the hot seat. You're going to be coming on up to the SOR headquarters to broadcast, because everybody does that. You get the secret key. You excited about it?
I'm nervous about it. I've never done a 3-hour show before. I think it's going to be fun. So, if you guys, I promise you that. You guys join us. It's going to be informative. It's going to be fun. But, yeah, I mean, it's big shoes to fill. I love Spaced Out Radio and the whole crew and everything. It's kind of cool to be able to, be a part of it for one night.
And you're also, just so the audience knows, you're also, as of December, the first weekend of December, which will be the 2nd, you're going to be taking over Saturdays from Dave Cruz, who has some family commitments that he has to take care of. So you're going to be in the hot seat as of December when Dave passes the torch over to you.
Yeah. I didn't know you were going to tell everybody tonight, but that's really cool.
I'm telling everybody. And I do want to preface, just so there's no drama, there's no issue with Dave Cruz, okay? There's nothing, okay? So let's just get that out of the way. Dave Cruz is an awesome, awesome dude. He really is an awesome dude. And he approached me a couple of weeks ago, and he just said, Dave, I've got some family stuff coming up that it's taken up a lot of my time. I don't want to let you and the SOR listeners down, but I don't know what to do. I can't do it, and I have to make a decision. I'm sorry. And I'm like, don't apologize, man. Family comes first. And Dave has just been phenomenal. He's filled in for me when I've needed him to fill in. And, kudos to Dave for putting priorities first, and family is a priority.
Yeah, and Dave is a family man. He's a man's man. He's a family man. He's a wonderful guy. And I highly doubt the end of November will be the last time you hear Dave Cruz's voice on this network, on Spaced Out Radio and in all fashions,
Oh, for
He's
sure.
a great dude.
Yeah, he is. I got a lot of respect and love for him, and I'm sure he will be doing some fill-in for us as well, because we definitely want to continue to have that relationship with Dave, and we definitely want him to be part of and stay part of the SOR family, because he's just I'm excited to meet him. I've been asked to go speak down in San Francisco in March at Laurie and Fenton's Experiencers Conference.
Yeah. Oh, you're going to that. Okay.
I am going to that, and I should find out later this month and have everything confirmed. And when I do go down there, I really hope Dave is there, because there are certain people in this field, Joe, you're one of them, that I just want to, give a big bro hug and a handshake to and say, come on, let's have a beer together. There are certain people you just want to meet in this field, and Dave is one of them. You're one of them, because it just feels so much better when you finally you have all these conversations, whether it's on shows or on the phone, but it's just not the same as being able to shake someone's hand. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, man, I got to tell you, when we went to the Ozark conference and I picked him up from the airport, that's the first thing he did was give me a big bro hug. And he felt like family. Like there was nothing awkward about the dude. He felt like family. He took care of me like a brother. And we had a really fun time. I mean, it's always a good time around Dave.
Well, you know what? We'll make sure that, he still does some fill-in appearances here every now and again. But, family does come first. So Dave Cruz, who will be with us, he'll be with you guys for the 18th and the 25th. And then tomorrow night is Joe Roop, along with starting December 2nd on Saturday nights as well, which is really cool. By the way, we have voted, since you're the rookie here, that you get to do the Christmas show.
Oh, great. Okay. Well, you know what? Here's another thing I want to say, too.
I'm teasing about that, by the way. We're going to play a replay that night.
I do want to say that, when I started this thing, this radio thing just kind of goes where it goes, and to be asked to be a part of that or fill in for Dave Cruz, to even be a part of the Spaced Out Radio team is really an honor, and I appreciate you and all the listeners that do welcome me. I'll try to do my best to make sure that it's a great show for you guys.
Well, you know what? We look forward to you filling in. So let's learn a little bit about you here, and let's end the love in here, because we could probably go all night and we'll probably end up losing all our listeners because of it. But let's learn a little bit about you. What got you into paranormal radio?
Well, what got me into it was, the first thing that got me into it was more of like a spirit science thing. When I started having astral, out of the body experiences, that's when I started doing Lighting the Void, and then I got into esoteric, and then I had a UFO experience, and I was just doing like a recorded podcast at first, and every night I would listen to Art Bell, like a lot of people did, and when he quit the final time, it took me about a week to figure out what I was going to do, because I just sat back. I felt like I'd lost a girlfriend or something. It really hurt, because I'd listen to him every night, and there was a hole there. And I started doing the radio show, Lighting the Void. And then as I went along, I started meeting people. I met Dave, and then we started the Fringe.fm, and it's kind of went on from there. It's going a lot faster and blowing up a lot bigger than I thought. We've only been doing the Fringe.fm, I think it's almost a year now, and that's it.
You guys are starting to make quite a name for yourself. That's, congratulations to you guys. So you decided to go more on the spiritual and esoteric side. A lot of people, when they hear this powerful voice on the air, wouldn't expect that that's really what you're into. And believe it or not, it shocked me, my friend.
Well, I don't know why that's so shocking, but that's cool to hear that. Yeah. So as I started doing that, I actually studied a lot of mystic and occult texts, and even got involved with some societies that were secret and things like that. And I learned a lot. And then when I started having UFO experiences like that star I was telling you about, and I told everybody about before, everything started coming together as kind of one thing, this field. And now the more I know, it seems the more I don't know. Curiosity is what I love. I'm so curious about all of this. And that's the fun thing to me. All of it, spirituality, ufology, paranormal stuff, listening to people read off of, when you guys were doing the Ouija board, that was insane. I'd never heard that before. And every week, every month, there's something cool about this that keeps me going. There's never a dull moment in this field.
Does it drive you nuts that the further you get from the answers, the more questions that you have?
Yes and no. I mean, yes, in the fact that, I do want to know everything. I guess that's being a man, that it makes me want to know everything about everything. But I think that the realizing that I don't know as much every time I learn something new, it's like I'm trying to find a word for it. Like bittersweet, maybe that would be a good word for it. But it's enough to keep me in it. It's just exciting for me.
I'm going to get to Adam's question here in the Spreaker chat room. I probably shouldn't ask it, but I'm going to because he's been driving me nuts all night. Do you believe in gnomes, Joe? Well, I hate those damn things. Come on, Adam. This is a professional show. And here you are, always getting to the gnomes. You're evil.
Well, I will say that if you study ancient folklore and even the esoteric and the four elements, you'll find that there is an elemental, I guess you could call them elemental beings for each element. And in a lot of sacred texts, they call on gnomes because gnomes are the element of earth. And if you've ever done an invocation, or if you've ever read anything like that, you might think that it's crazy. But you got to understand that we're only computing everything from five senses, and the reason why the gnomes are in all these folklores is something had to have worked at one time. Surely all these people can't be crazy. And I've had my own experiences. Do I believe in gnomes? I believe in the archetype of the gnome. Yeah. Have I ever seen one? I think I might have saw one when I was a kid. But yeah, I could say I believe in them.
I'll give us that experience. Make me shiver here, man.
Well, I saw a lot of stuff when I was a kid. I don't know if it was a gnome or a troll, but I will know this. It was, I thought I kept hearing footsteps when I was a child in my bedroom, and I would always face the wall because I lived in a small house with my father, and I would face the wall, and his doorway would be directly behind me. So if I looked through the doorway, it would go into his room, but it was pitch black, and I would face the wall because I didn't have to look at nothing, because every time I looked at something, it would turn into something, and I kept hearing these footsteps, and then I thought I heard whispering, and my heart, how you are when you're a kid and you're getting scared, my heart started speeding up a little bit, and then I just couldn't. It's like that thing where you don't want to turn around, you don't want to turn around because something's there, but I had to. Because there was a little voice in the back of my head saying, turn around and look. There's nothing there, Joe. And then you can go to sleep. Well, when I turned around, there was this short thing standing there, short and fat, about the width of the doorway. And I didn't really get a good look at it, but it scared me enough that, I took off running out of my bed, literally jumped from the middle of my bed over its head, and ran into my dad's bedroom and started screaming. So, and I think that thing was I would say if it was about 3 foot tall, short and fat. Now, was it a spiritual thing? Probably. I mean, because I didn't hear the door shut when it left, but I definitely saw it.
Well, you know what? I got goosebumps listening to that one because I hate those little things so bad. I really do. Was it wearing a pointy hat?
Man, I don't remember if it was wearing... I know it had something on its head, I think, but I'm telling you, when I turned around and looked at it, just seeing it there looking at me was enough for me to just, close my eyes and sprint. And that was... I never saw anything like that again since I was a child. Did I manifest that with my mind? Maybe, but I don't see stuff like that nowadays. So something was there, man. Who's to say it wasn't?
No, absolutely, absolutely, and that's the reason why we do it. Is because we want to have that experience. We want to learn about that experience. And I think for a lot of people who listen to shows like Lighting the Void or SOR or whatever show they listen to, and maybe they've never had an experience, they don't know that every time you have an experience, it leads to 1,000 questions. Questions that you will never get the answers to. How do you control your frustration without getting those answers?
I don't know that I get super frustrated about it. I will tell you that I guess what I do is I just read more. I get on the internet and I search everything I can find, and I look for parallels in the information. I haven't become extremely frustrated with anything of that nature. What I have become frustrated with is the polarization of beliefs when somebody the categorization of everything, especially in the esoteric. Some people thinking all magic is black magic, or all aliens have to be gray aliens, and everything is bad is from the cabal and the reptilians. That stuff frustrates me because we don't know that stuff. People are just telling us those things.
Where do you stand on the fear-mongering of this field?
Well, the fear-mongering is part of the entertainment aspect of it, but it's not. There is a point to where fear-mongering becomes a problem when you're willing to do that instead of trying to ask for the truth. People deserve the truth, and it's not as sensational sometimes, but I think it's a problem because the one thing that fear is really good at is polarizing people, polarizing people's beliefs, and setting them on one side of the fence, making them draw a line in the sand, and it just really is not a good thing. But fear is also a good thing. If you're going out to a haunted house or something to do an investigation, and you start feeling a little fear for some reason, it's happening for a reason, and that's why you take somebody with you. But to use it lightly, I guess there are people in this field that use it just for entertainment purposes, and I think that's more on the TV side of things, though. Unless you get into conspiracy radio like Alex Jones or whatever, there's never a positive thing on that show, ever. It's all fear-mongering.
I'm not a fan of it, and I'll even eliminate it from a lot of my chat rooms at times. The minute fear-mongering comes into play, I'll get rid of it. And it's funny because I get called out on it. I do get called out that I'm part of the problem because I'm editing it. And I said, well, no, you're saying things that you have no proof over. And I'm not about to do that in my own room. I have an audience to respect.
Yeah. Right.
It's not just about you. It's about the audience out there, and I'm not about fear tactics that, the government's coming to get all of our guns and FEMA's going to lock us all up and so on and so forth. I don't buy that at all. I really don't. And I think that's a conundrum a lot of times as show hosts that we have, Joe, as we are, where we get into the conundrum of trying to tell the story down the middle as professionally as possible, and when we call BS, maybe on a comment or a posting or something along those lines, we get thrown in as part of the cabal and part of the problem.
Yeah, well, yeah, definitely. There's, I've had some emails where people say that, I needed to go to church and all this other stuff, and that I'm part of the Illuminati and all this. And that's not true at all. My main concern is finding out the truth. I always want to let the audience decide. Now, I'm always going to have, an opinion and maybe even a bias on certain things, but I think that it's better to let the audience decide. Just like, I had Chris Zuger on, who doesn't agree with anything Leo Zagami says because Chris Zuger's a Freemason. However, Leo Zagami, who's coming on tomorrow night, has been in these secret societies, and he's seeing the infiltration of pedophile networks and stuff in some of these societies in Europe. And, I'm reading his book, and I'm trying to do the research. But at the end of the day, if I get both sides of the information out, I can let the audience decide as well. Or I could just, fearmonger everybody and just worry about that. And but I wouldn't be serving, it just wouldn't feel right to do that. I wouldn't be serving myself any justice, and I really wouldn't be doing any good for the audience.
So where do you draw the line then? As somebody who doesn't have a broadcasting background and you're kind of learning on the fly, how are you learning to keep it down the middle so that way you're not going like mainstream media and choosing a right or a left politically?
Well, if anybody's ever listened to my show, what I'll do is I'll if a guest or somebody says something or says a statement that I don't agree with, Dave, I'll make sure that the question that I don't agree with might be the question that the audience might not agree with. And instead of saying I don't agree or something of that nature to try to pick a fight with them, what I'll do is I'll just say, have you ever considered this point of view? Or what about people that think this way? And sometimes when I say that, I'm talking about myself. That way, the guest doesn't. And it may be a tough question. I'm not afraid to ask tough questions. But that way it doesn't pick a fight. The conversation doesn't get polarized. And both the audience and I learn something from it.
And what's that message you were trying to get through to your audience?
The biggest message I would say that I think that I'm trying to get through is there's more stuff out there in this universe. And I would say the introverse, the astral realms and the spiritual and psychical realms, as well as the physical universe, than we'll ever know. And that we need to find out as much as we can while we're here on this earth, because some of this stuff is going to help us down the road to evolve, and have a better society as a human race. I think we're already kind of doing that. But there's some birth pains going on right now, though.
Mm-hmm. So when you look at your audience and you are breaking down your shows on Lighting the Void, when you choose a topic, are you looking for those topics that are going to make people think and scratch their heads, maybe trying to get a little bit of a controversy going, or is it all about knowledge and entertainment?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think that, like you said, I'm studying this field a little bit. I'm trying to, I always want to know what the audience wants. But at the end of the day, I think that if I can do both, if I can present knowledge and entertain without selling myself out, on either one, because too much knowledge, it's like reading a book, it gets kind of boring, right? So you've got to entertain at the same time. And to be honest with you, what that question you just asked me is the hardest thing to learn, I think, in this field. It really is. Because there are other shows where it's really easy to go the entertainment route, and just blow up really fast. You can do that, but I don't want to go down that road. I want to. It's a little bit longer and slower of a road, but I think at the end of the day, it's really going to fill that void for the audience that we're missing. I think you're doing that too.
What, missing things? No, not me.
Filling the void, brother.
Trying. That's why I had to go to 3 hours a night. I got pressured from the audience. They were ruthless about it. They were.
Yeah, that's kind of why I kind of want to do this on Saturdays, because I've had some listeners, every time we do a show, they're like, that was just too fast. You need to do a third hour. And I'm thinking, well, a third hour, that kind of scared me at first, but it's, I'll definitely, I've been practicing a little bit on some material and stuff, and I think I can do it. I think I can do it, but I'm not going to, one night a week is a good try for me.
Well, you know what? We're looking forward to it. Tell us about your guest tomorrow night.
Well, at the first part of the show, I'm going to have Ryan Gable on with me kind of to talk about, so what we're going to do is talk about what the secret societies are, like all the different sects of the societies, and kind of what they teach and what the real mystery schools are about, such as, magic, alchemy, astrology, theurgy, everything that you're taught in the mystery school. So everybody has a clear understanding. And then the second part of the show, because Leo Zagami lives in Rome, he has to wake up pretty early to get on the show. So I'm going to bring him in the second part. And, his latest book is called The Decline of the Western Initiatic System, where basically his book is talking about how the mystery schools are being infiltrated by power-hungry people who are also pretty evil on some aspects. Some of them are known pedophiles and even Satanism a little bit. Now, I thought that was kind of ridiculous, but as I looked into his book, there are some cases that have been proven to this fact. So I think, a lot of people think Leo is a guy that's just trying to desecrate Freemasonry and all the secret societies and try to have everybody think it's the Illuminati. But I'm not so sure. I think that maybe he's trying to save what the mystery school is about. But see, I don't know. And that's what I'm going to talk to him about. I want to figure that out about him, number one, and then check some of this information he has in his book.
Do you feel with that whole subject matter, and it's something that I really haven't gone down on this road, I've actually really had a lot of deep thought, and I paused there for a second, because when it gets down to this whole pedophilia aspect, it's such a disgusting topic. Without solid proof, I think it's a very dangerous topic to play against. What makes you comfortable in talking about subjects like that? Because I know for me, I'm just not comfortable in that discussion. At least publicly.
You're talking about the discussion of secret societies and things of that nature?
Well, the pedophilia and Satanism.
Ah, okay. Well, it's not a comfortable thing to talk about at all. But it's happening. And somebody like myself, I've been I guess you could say a studier and a little bit of a practitioner of white mystery and white magic my whole life. I care deeply about this, because what's going to happen is if we don't do something about it, everybody that's in the esoteric or that studies the occult, they're going to get dragged through the mud along with it. But I think it's important. As weird as it feels, it's very hard to talk about, because I have a son of my own, and you have children of your own, and obviously, you out there listening, most of you have children. People don't want to think about it, but it's real, and it's not sensational, I would say, but it's something that if what he's saying is true, and part of it is, I know that, then people need to know about it. Knowing is the first step to doing something about it. And I think as broadcasters, as much as we have a responsibility for entertainment, we also have a responsibility to inform the public, especially when they're in danger, or their family could be in danger, or their children could be in danger from things like this. And, this internet radio gets broadcasted across the world, and your terrestrial stations that pick it up as well. And that carries I believe, a weight of responsibility that we have to do something about it,
And I agree, something has to be done about it. what makes me fearful of the topic is a lot of these allegations that are being thrown around, there is no proof or there is no investigation. It's a bunch of fear-mongering websites who create a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, sure. You're talking about like Pizzagate and all that stuff. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean,
see, that's another thing I want to make sure that we get real clear here too, because whatever he talks about that he knows of, that's fine. But what I'm more interested in is the cases that have already been convicted. You know, the people that are already locked up, because he talks about that. And but yeah, I mean, trust me, proof is big too, because we have to carry a responsibility for that as well. I'm not. I guess I could say I'm just as curious and worried about it as other folks, but I feel like getting down to the truth of it is the biggest responsibility. And there is a lot of a wave of people that will jump on that bandwagon because it's such a foul subject, because it instills so much fear. They will jump on that bandwagon and have everybody, you know, draw a line in the sand. And the effect of it causes a ripple that, like I said, that is really bad. And again, I'll say I feel responsible for finding out about the truth. Do I believe that everything Leo's going to tell me is true? You know, I don't know. I'm going to leave that up to the audience. But I do my own investigations on it. But you can tell that it's important to him. Now, my mission is to find out why, though. What's the agenda here? Is it to sell books? Or are you really trying to help people out? Because, again, there are cases in his book where he shows that people have been caught and arrested for it. And that says a lot right there. But it wasn't the Pizzagate stuff, you know.
Hey, I'm all for it. Like, anytime somebody's sick and twisted, like a pedophile or somebody along those lines can get busted, I have no problem with that whatsoever. I think what actor Corey Haim is doing right now, or Corey Feldman, which Corey is that? Corey
That's
Feldman?
right. You got the second
Corey Feldman. You know, I think what he is doing right now is fantastic, and I hope, you know, that his life isn't in danger, because he's taken on some very, very big and powerful people, you know, and I think the more exposure there is on that topic, the better, because let's face it, we do got to get rid of these sick and twisted individuals on this planet. I don't think there's anything worse than people who are defaming or killing children, and I think everybody would agree with me, and if you don't, well, you've got issues. Right? But the whole point that I'm getting at here is, I mean, some of these stories, Joe, you know, like, that are so unfathomed, okay? One of my favorites that I like to use as an example, and I did this in a couple of my speeches this year that I gave, you know, where you get a lot of these people who say, the royal family is having virgin children kidnapped for them, you know, so the queen can feed off of virgin blood for lunch, and that's why she's still alive. Well, the last time I checked, there's a lot of people on this planet who are alive in their late 80s. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? And considering that she lives a pretty cushy life, not having to work very hard, it's very simple to me, and maybe I'm just looking at it logically, you know, that she's still alive. But I mean, to say that she's a virgin-feeding reptilian when there's absolutely zero proof. But that's the kind of crap, I mean, you laugh about it,
yeah,
but that's the kind of crap that is driving the alternative media into the ground. You know, we might as well dig a 50-foot trench, 50-foot deep trench, and just jump in, because that's what is killing our credibility for asking the tough questions that the mainstream media is either bypassing or refusing to ask.
Yeah, and see, and another problem with that is when that happens, the real problem behind the scenes is getting ignored. See, so if there are real cases of people that are doing this, and are real cases of satanic rituals and stuff that are actually happening, they get thrown by the wayside and also get ignored because we're focused on the sensational media of the reptilian vampiric overlord and the royal family. So, you know, where we put our focus is important. And see, that's another thing too. See, that's also taught in the mystery schools, where you put your focus, your subconscious, and all that, and how it's affected. And there's a really big story to that, which I'm going to get into. And, I'm going to start from the Golden Dawn through Masonry to Aleister Crowley. That way, when Leo comes on, everyone's going to know the real history of this, or the real history of secret societies, from my point of view, and then let them make up their own mind. But I don't think that's going to go away, Dave, until enough people on the internet say they're done with it. Because the media and the advertisers, they have no choice but to give us what we want. So at some point, we have to take responsibility for what we're getting in the media. So until everybody shifts, then they'll start giving us something different. And a lot of people don't like to hear that, but that's a message that I put out a lot. We're just as responsible for what's in the media as they are. Advertisers and media only give us what we tell them we want, and that's what they do.
I'm not denying that whatsoever. I think you're absolutely right on that part. But, I mean, when you're setting up your own network, would you put a fear-mongering show on there that is discussing topics that have no relevant proof besides fear-mongering websites? And I'm not going to slander any of them or defame any of them on the air, but we all know those sites that are out there that are just creating their own news. They're worse than the National Enquirer. Yeah, I've seen them too. Like as a matter of fact, if you do a search for paranormal news or anything like that, you have to sift through a lot of tabloid-style paranormal stuff before you can get down to the nitty-gritty. So, yeah, you're totally right about that. Would I put a show like that on my network that I know has only entertainment value and no truth? Absolutely not. Never will. I don't think any show that's on the network is like that. I would say the closest one to that is maybe the Dark Water show, where he retells stories of cryptids and scary events. But, he does his own investigations and only reports what people are doing or what they're telling him. So his show is a little bit about fear, a little bit. But, he believes that these events with cryptids and Dogman and things like that of that nature are true. So I know it's in his heart. But if it was something absurd, that I'm talking about Dogman and then something more absurd than that, right? But if it was something absurd to where we know it's misinformation, absolutely not. And if I was to put a show on that I didn't know, I'd depend on my hosts and my audience. I always ask everybody, tell me what you want, tell me what you think, contact me. If you or a listener or somebody said, hey, Joe, look at this, I don't think this guy is legit or whatever, you can bet I'm going to look into it, because I have to take care of the audience first, the host second, and those are pretty much equal as far as I'm concerned. And so even if I wanted it to happen, I can't let it happen. But no, I don't want that to happen at all, and I'll never do that. It is a tough field, isn't it? Because you walk such a straight line on a crooked road. Yeah, I always look at people's hearts and intentions in the long run. There's let's take Rich Giordano, for example. A lot of people don't like Rich's style, but a lot of people do. He's a little, I'm trying to abrasive sometimes. Abrasive? Yeah, abrasive, yeah. He scares some people in this field. Some people said that I'm crazy for putting him on the network. But Rich really cares about the truth, to the point where he's willing to do Evel Knievel-like things to get it. He's always trying to make sure that the truth is getting out. And I believe in him. And I think one day, whether he's on this network or not, one day, if he keeps at it, he's going to crack something big for everybody. And he's going to get his due. I'm a huge Rich Giordano fan. You know that. You and I have talked ad nauseum about the guy, and you know what I think about him. I think Rich is someone who shows a lot of emotion in trying to discover the truth, and he may come across as abrasive. He may come across as someone who is, a little bit arrogant or whatever you want to say. However, when you get deep down and you have a good conversation with him, you learn very, very quickly that his heart is in the right place. He's just tired of people like those in the audience who are searching for answers as well. He's tired of people like them getting screwed over.
Yeah.
By, snake oil salespeople. And let's face it, there's snake oil salespeople everywhere in these fields.
Yeah, and just to let you guys know that when we started advertising on the network, I had 6 different people that I was talking to about advertising, and only one, believe it or not, only one was willing to let me try it first before I advertised it. That's a problem. That right there scares me. Is it that hard to find something credible in this field to advertise, Because I'm telling you right now, it is. And that's the basis of sales, is the basis of everything that we do in society. So what I'm telling you right now is how bad it is, where people they're so enticed with getting the money instead of the information out. But I also want to say that, with the Saturday show that you have given me the honor of participating in and being a host. I have just broke into the UFO field and the cryptid field as well, and I'm just as curious about it as a lot of the listeners. I am no expert in it, but I plan on, over these series of Saturday shows, to have more of those types of guests on and to become very informed in this field, no matter how long it takes.
We talk about fear-mongering, and on my computer I have Facebook on my other computer lined up here, and I'm just, one of these, feeds that pops up, how they just pop up. It's of a guy, it's supposed to be live, and there's supposed to be 1,300 people watching this right now, and here's these 2 round circles in the skies that have orb-like lights going around the outside of the circle, and the guy's zooming in on them and everything. And I look at this and I think, you know what? If this was truly happening, this would be on mainstream media. Somebody in the mainstream would pick this up and run with it. I mean, this would be so incredible. Yet we have people doing this fear-mongering fake news crap that's on there, and this person is sharing it. And I look at it, and I think that's why a lot of us don't get taken very seriously in this field, because there are people using CGI to put fake crap like this out there, and there are people in the public who actually buy it. They're buying it that it's real. They're buying it because they're sharing it. Like, oh my God, this is real. You know what? If this was real, I've been watching this thing for a couple of minutes now. Why does it keep stuttering if it's live and going back to the original picture? That doesn't happen if it's live. And number 2, the audience number would be fluctuating.
Well, you have to understand too, Dave, your listeners and you listening out there, I know you're frustrated with that stuff. I know you're frustrated with this field. You talk about it quite a bit, but you also have to understand that you're doing something about it, and your listeners are too. We're all going to change this together. As frustrating as it is, how powerful the web and social media is. As long as we keep fighting back and enough people keep joining the team, of truth or of trying to find the truth, we'll eventually win. We just can't give up. And I know it seems like a long and daunting road, but you're doing your part, man. And that's all that matters. That's all you can do.
And I appreciate that, but this is one of the things, you use the word truth a couple of times. The problem in the paranormal and the alternative field now is the word truth is becoming fake news. When we hear all of these so-called truth seekers out there, I don't call myself not to sound arrogant, but I don't call myself a truth seeker. I call myself a journalist, because that's what I am.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. And that word truth is, the reason why I like the word truth is because there's so many things in this field and in this universe that I don't know what's real about it, but I know that a truth can't be a lie. I know that. So I know that's the only polar thing I really believe in, is a truth can't be a lie. But yeah, a lot of people are using the truth as if they are providing the truth, right? They'll say it like, I'm a truth seeker, and then they they will make another statement. Well, if you want the truth, you'll listen to me and make sure you don't. Well, I don't believe anybody can provide 100% truth, especially when they're claiming to know it. And a matter of fact, I don't think the universe is going to tell us the truth about anything until we stop telling the world our truth and trying to push it on people. So yeah, I am a truth seeker, but maybe I should use the word journalist. Maybe it would be better that way.
I think the word truth is becoming very negative in this field. And Ozzy Andy in our chat room actually just mentioned that as well. He says truth is relative, but is it becoming negative?
Yeah, truth is relative in a way that, I guess he's got a point about that. It becomes negative when you become polar about it, when you base beliefs about something that you have no evidence for. And when I say that, I'm also saying your experience. And then you claim to push it as truth, like the dark cabal and lizard people and stuff like that. Okay, well, if you've never had an experience with that and you don't have really good evidence and you can't really push that as truth, it may be true, but you cannot say that that is the truth. And that's where you were talking about science earlier. People lose, you lose me as well when you say you're doing things scientifically when you're really not.
This is a field that just continues to shoot itself in its own foot. Hey, do me a favor. Let's.
But it's still exciting, though.
Oh, very much so. We wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't. Tell people, and take a couple minutes here, because we only have about 3.5 minutes left, about Lighting the Void and KTLK, the Fringe FM, because I think it's important for people to learn, where they can find your programming.
Oh, I appreciate that. Well, Lighting the Void right now comes on every Tuesday and Wednesday night at 7 Pacific time on the Fringe.fm. And that show is about bringing science and spirituality together, trying to bridge the gap. I mean, everything that we talk about, I do talk about a lot of spirit science, a little bit more on that show, things like astral travel, the occult and mysticism, but also try to bridge it with actual scientists, well-known scientists, if I can get them to come on the show. And that show is my baby. That's a very weird name I named it, but I still to this day want to change the name because it's not very marketable. It's not a term that gets searched at all, but it is exactly the title that the show, it defines the show. And the reason why I made the Fringe.fm is because I was doing that show, and as I was getting listeners, even when I started getting listeners for the first time, I was excited, but I felt alone in this field. I was listening to other shows, and I even listened to your show. I remember the first time I came into your chat room, and I wanted to connect with this community so bad. I wanted to make friends in this community so bad and have people to talk to about it, and really would make my life so much better. And I got a wild hair and just contacted Dave Cruz, and he didn't know me from Adam. And I said, listen, what do you think about starting a network? And we'll just start out with your show and my show, and we'll just kind of build on it from there. And that's how the Fringe.fm came up. And it's not there. We got the nightly schedule pretty much almost filled up, and during the daytime there's a lot of replays and stuff. But I can tell you this, and you listening, that there's some really cool stuff coming on this network, and we're going to try to do things a little bit different than you've ever heard it before. But I will tell you this too. The intentions on it, we will never sell ourselves out for money. We will never take money over the truth. And if that ever happens, I know you're going to let me know about it. But I would also ask the listener to keep us in check. Email me at producer@thefringe.fm. Tell me what you like, what you don't like. I get it from hosts, and some of my friends tell me, and they help me every day. The more feedback I get from you guys, the bigger and better we're going to be able to make this thing for you.
My friend, I look forward to you filling in tomorrow night for Dave Cruz on Spaced Out Saturdays, 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time. Your guest, Leo Gazami. Thank you so much for doing that, and thanks for joining the Spaced Out Radio team, my friend.
Man, thanks for having me. I hope I do you all a good service.
Oh, I think you're going to be absolutely fantastic. And once again, audience, let's give Joe a chance here. Love to see you all in here. I will be checking in. You know, Joe's a pro. We only do the pros around here. So it'll be fun, it'll be great, and it'll be entertaining, as it is every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Joe, you hang on. I'm going to wrap this thing up. I want to say thank you to Jack Kenna, who is our guest for the first 2 hours tonight on Spaced Out Radio, talking paranormal television behind the scenes. We're going to get Jack on again in the new year. Fantastic interview. In the background, you hear Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL rocking to Little Brother Is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio. He rocks us in and out of every single show, and we love Mr. B around here. I will be back on Monday. Susan Fowler will be my guest. We're going to be talking shadow people. And don't forget, Joe Roop filling in for Dave Cruz on Spaced Out Saturdays tomorrow night. And then on Sunday, Elizabeth Anglin, Spaced Out Sundays with Cosmic Passport. Both shows get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time. You can find out everything at spacedoutradio.com. I want to say thank you to my team for working their butts off this week as we look to grow this bigger and better every single day and night. But most of all, I say thank you to all of you. Whether you're at home listening, you're in the chat rooms, you're on Twitter, sharing our shows, spreading the word, sending me notes on what you think Spaced Out Radio is and what it's all about for you. I really appreciate it. I love responding to your notes. We're going to wrap this thing up for the weekend. I will see you on Monday. Stay cool, everyone, because together, my friends, we own the night. Talk to you in 72 hours from now. Have a good one. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Good night.